So we're looking at taking it a step further.
All right. Thank you. If there's a bank that doesn't need an introduction, it is Ecobank. If those testimonials weren't enough, I'm sure you have individually your own testimonials. But today it's not about Ecobank. Today is about you and the legacy that you leave behind. My name is Carl Kaleje. I'm a branch manager here at Ecobank, and I'll be moderating this seminar. Before we start, I want to share a few house rules with us. Dr. Ebo, you're welcome. Mrs. Ano, you're welcome. So behind us, you have the washrooms. To your left, that's my right. That's the ladies. To my left, that's your right, the gents. So for emphasis, when you get there, please look at the labels. I was speaking to a gentleman the other day. He said he came back from Ireland, and they had taken the labels off. So he was confused whether to go left or right. But here, the labels are there, so please use them. We don't allow food and drink in the hall, so please kindly note that. And then also, I want to thank you very much for putting your phones on silence. I appreciate that. We are all grateful. Again, a very warm welcome to all of you. And at this point, I will introduce our landlady of the house to give us the opening remarks. We all know, and I'm sure you will agree with me, that every institution that thrives has strong leadership at the base. And here at Ecobank, we are no exception. There is strong leadership here at Ecobank. Unfortunately, our esteemed Managing Director, Abna, is unable to join us this morning, but Abna has entrusted that honor to Charlotte, a very pivotal and strong person. She is a commercial banking executive for Anglophone West Africa, and she will be delivering the opening remarks in her stead. Charlotte, please.
Thank you very much, Carl. I'm trying to figure this out with the microphone stands, so just a minute. All right, so welcome, a warm welcome on behalf of our Managing Director, as Carl mentioned, to our distinguished guests, our esteemed speakers for the day, educators, cherished partners, fellow Ecobankers, ladies and gentlemen, good morning and welcome to a gathering that holds the promise of transformation and enlightenment. We are gathered here today, united under a profound theme, building lasting educational institutions. This theme is not merely a topic for discussion, but a clarion call to action, a call to envision, create, and sustain educational legacies that will shape the future of our nation. As you would agree with me, education is the bedrock upon which societies are built. It is the torch that lights the path to progress, the key that unlocks the potential within everyone. As Nelson Mandela once said, education is the most powerful weapon with which you can use to change the world. This sentimental quote encapsulates the essence of our mission today, to harness the power of education to effect meaningful and lasting change. At Ecobank Ghana, we recognize and acknowledge that our role extends beyond the scope of traditional banking. We are partners in development, a catalyst for growth, and strong advocates and promoters of education. We understand that by investing in education, we are investing in the very soul of our nation, Ghana. We have an unwavering commitment of working with our partners to provide meaningful support for building institutions that not only impart knowledge, but also inspire innovation, character, and resilience. Our dedication and focus on the education sector spans decades, during which we have continuously deepened our understanding of the unique financial needs and challenges faced by educational institutions. Our partnerships extend across the full spectrum of the education ecosystem, from preschools to tertiary institutions, covering both private and public institutions. Recognizing the evolving landscape of education and its increasing financial complexities, we have continuously re-engineered our financial solutions to meet the changing needs of our customers. We actively keep engaging educators, administrators, and other relevant stakeholders to understand and appreciate their financial needs. This enables us to always fine-tune our offerings to meet their exact requirements, ensuring that our solutions remain relevant, flexible, and impactful. Today, we provide a comprehensive suite of solutions that are tailor-made to support the financial needs of our customers in the educational sector. These include seamless payment solutions, enabling institutions to process salaries, vendor payments, and statutory payments efficiently and conveniently. Fee collection services, custom-built platforms to streamline school fee collections, very important. Financial support services, asset and capital expenditure loans for acquisitions and expansion, as well as sustainability financing for improving energy efficiency, including the acquiring of electric vehicles. Non-financial support services. Our initiatives include seminars like this, webinars, career guidance, networking, mentoring, coaching clinics, internship programs, and opportunities for both our partners and their students to network. It is evident that at Ecobank, our dedication to the education sector is not just about financial services. It's about supporting institutions, those that you represent, to shape the future of our nation. So over the decades, we have built strong partnerships with some of you, schools and universities, understanding your needs and providing innovative solutions to help you grow and thrive. We also recognize that financial support alone is not enough. So to build truly lasting educational institutions, we need insights from you who have successfully navigated the challenges of the sector, expanded your institutions, and built models of excellence. We are honored to have with us today a cadre of distinguished speakers whose contributions to education are both monumental and inspiring. One, we have Mrs. Lydia Ano, founder and director of the McCarthy Hill School, whose visionary leadership has fostered an environment where students thrive academically and personally. We have Dr. Isaac Yeboah, co-founder and director of International Community School, whose dedication to holistic education has cultivated well-rounded individuals who are ready to face global challenges. And we have Professor Emeritus Stephen Ade, Executive Chairman of the Ghana Christian International High School, whose commitment to integrating faith and learning has set a standard for moral and academic excellence. Their presence here today is testament to the collective dedication we share in advancing education. Their insights will undoubtedly serve as beacons, guiding us toward innovative solutions and renewed vigor in our endeavor and quest to build legacies for our motherland. As we start this seminar, I personally want to encourage each of you to engage deeply, to think critically, and collaborate earnestly. Let us challenge the status quo, explore uncharted territories, and forge partnerships that will fortify the foundations of our educational institutions. Always remember that the journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step, and today we take that step together. In conclusion, I want us to appreciate the fact that building lasting educational institutions is a shared responsibility. It requires vision, dedication, and collective effort. Together, we can create a world where knowledge thrives, potential is realized, and future generations are equipped to lead with wisdom, empathy, and integrity. We thank you for your commitment to education and for being part of this transformative journey. May our collective efforts today sow the seeds for a brighter and more educated future for us all. Thank you.
Thank you, Charlotte. I see how the politicians feel now when all the microphones are in front of them. All right, thank you, Charlotte, for that insightful remark and setting a very powerful tone for our conversation this morning. For me, I had strategy, I had sustainability. That's not sustainability, by the way. I had strategy, I had sustainability, I had partnership, and then there's also the evolution of our education landscape. And to set the ball rolling for that conversation, we have Mrs. Lydia Ano. So Mrs. Lydia Ano is a very passionate educator and leader. She is the founder and director of the McCarthy Hill School. It's a private basic school here in Accra. It was established in 2008. Before venturing into education, like most of you here, she had a distinguished corporate career serving as the head of HR for West Africa for a multinational company, overseeing over 400 employees across 7 countries. She began her professional journey at Standard Chartered Bank, where she quickly rose from customer service officer to the first customer service manager for Excel Banking. Currently, Mrs. Ano is the president of OMEP Ghana, World Organization for Early Childhood Education. She holds an MBA in Human Resource Management from the University of Ghana, along with a BA in Secretaryship and a diploma in education from the University of Cape Coast. Her deep passion for education and child development led her to create, explore, and discover. I want you to hear this part well. An after-school and weekend program designed to provide hands-on learning experiences for children, an initiative that later evolved into the McCarthy Hill School, which is usually the story of all of you. Beyond education, Mrs. Ano enjoys gardening, cross-stitching, which I will ask her to explain to me, lifelong learning, and currently she's pursuing swimming and piano lessons. She's married with 2 kids and an active youth leader in her church. Ladies and gentlemen, Mrs. Ano.
Thank you, Carl. Good morning, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. It's a great honor to be invited by Ecobank to share our story, our experiences, and learn from one another. I must say, as Carl said, each one of us here has a story. Our journey started with a reason. Mine is not different. Interestingly, ours started in our home. You know, my husband and I, we were a very unusual couple. Newly married with young kids. We were not romantic. Our issue was to solve Ghana's problem. And my husband is trained as a mechanical engineer. He's a scientist. And to him, every problem in the world starts with science. So as soon as my daughter started talking, in fact, Ajua is here with me now, she started talking at 9 months. Her daddy would tell her that if you can't explain it with science, it doesn't exist. You know, we have all these stories we tell kids, if you don't do this, this will happen. And they run to their daddy and says, if you can't explain it with science, it's not true. So that was the nature and atmosphere in our home. Everything was why. You needed to find out why. Our kids, in fact, sometimes I was even amazed at some of the things they knew, because they would follow their father around the house with questions and all these things, experimenting. Gardening was big in the house. So when, imagine to our dismay, when our kids started formal education, what happened? Our children were failing. I mean, unbelievable. They were not average students. They were bottom of the class. Both girls. I have 2 daughters. Both of them. If they were in a class of 45, they would either be 44 or 43. I was worried. I was very worried. You know, every mother's dream is to go for speech and prize giving day, clap whilst your kids were receiving prizes. I received a lot of prizes when I was growing up. But that was not the case. My husband was unperturbed because he knew his kids and he knew they were smart. The school system was just not a right fit for our daughters. Every day at home we talked, and as I said, he's a scientist. So if there's no logic, it doesn't make sense to him. We'll drive along the roads and you see the construction, and I'm sorry, but I have to say this. You see the road construction going on, the drains are here, and the road is here. And you say, so these were very evident. He says, we don't think as a country. The education system we have in this country does not encourage us or make us think. I mean, this is the honest truth. And as educators, we all know this. One other basic problem my husband had, and he said this, even the educated ones, we don't understand numbers. We don't understand figures. He says, what is our standard of measure? All these years after independence, you go to the market, Eketo Olonka, and the sad or funny thing is that the Olonka, some people are using fritol container, ebi abwase, ebi ashishenru egudo. So there was no standard of measure, and these things really frustrated him. I remember at a point in time, he visited the Ministry of Education. He wanted to see their science curriculum. He was very fortunate. He went through the school systems, St. Teresa's, Infanspim, KN, UST. So he went through here, but he was fortunate. He had parents who were ahead of their time. He was exposed. He had opportunities to serve internships. So there were a lot of things that bothered my husband. So we'll sit around our dinner table, and this was what we were doing. Instead of being romantic and making more babies, we'll talk about Ghana and its problems. Anyway, one thing led to the other. But are we projecting my slides, please? I have an image I wanted to show. I think there were 3 pivotal things that led us to the establishment of Explore and Discover. The first one happened. So he has a little engineering workshop at Jolu, then known as KANO Engineering. I don't know if you have the second slide, the second page, where it's showing the leg. Yes. So I'm going to share a very interesting story with you. So my husband has an engineering workshop there, and friends who knew him would send their kids when they finished school to come and intern there. And because he was very particular about understanding numbers and figures, the first week, all you did was measurements. So somebody sent their son over. He had finished secondary school. And he came, and my husband says, after the orientation, go into the workshop and measure a foot and come and show me. The gentleman dashes to the workshop, and as my husband puts it, then he realized that everybody's feet was different. So he comes back and he says, "Sir, my foot or your foot?" He couldn't believe it. So somebody having gone through our school system, finished high school, does not know that a foot is a standard of measure. We have a big problem in this country. Second example, this was even higher level. A first-class graduate mechanical engineering from KNUST comes to intern. And usually he will sit and have a chat with them, your dreams, your aspirations. So he's sitting down waiting for the gentleman. He enters the conference room. And even before he takes his seat, and Ajua was there, she witnessed this. My husband says, "What's the height of the door?" This is first-class mechanical engineering. The gentleman says, 3 feet. You say, "Ah." So then my husband says, "How tall do you think you are?" And he goes, 9 feet. And for him, the problem was not the wrong answer, but the stupidity of the whole thing. He says, the logic. If the door is 3 feet and you are 9 feet, you walk through it. So he would come home, in fact, that one, he didn't even come home. He called me immediately and said, "You not believe what has happened." So all these experiences, last night I told him that I was going to talk and I'll use your foot or my foot. And he said, "You should add the climbing plants." That was what he said. He said, "You should talk about the climbing plants." So Ajua was in class 3, science homework, plants. They are learning about plants. And she was supposed to give an example of a climbing plant. As I mentioned earlier, gardening is big in the house. She had planted morning glory. It was climbing behind her window. So she answers the question and she writes, "Morning glory." Goes to school, and it's a big school. It's not a small school. She goes to school and she's marked wrongly. She gets the answer wrong. And I was that parent at that time. So the next morning, park my car, go to talk to the teacher. I said, "Why did she get question 3 wrong?" And she says, "Oh, the answer is yam." So I said, "Oops." Anyway, I didn't do my lead or nothing. So I let it slide. We already knew we had a problem. Following year, my daughters are 30 months apart. So following year, my second girl, AC, same class, same homework. And she is more advanced at this time. So she writes grape plant, at her level. Because she knows grape. Everybody knows grapevine is a climber. Guess what? She's also marked wrong. So I turned to my husband and says, "This is it." "Oh, let's stay and help." I say, "Stay and help the school. I will move with my kids. You can stay and help the school. That's a good thing. You want to be a good man. But I need to find a new school for my kids." So I moved them. After 3 years in that school, we moved to another school which charges slightly higher, about double what we're paying, but had had high recommendations. Enroll my kids there, and the failure was massive. This was small class sizes. Where they were 45 here, 17, 18 marks, and they were still failing. So I knew something was wrong. Something was clearly wrong. I mean, you engage these girls, very intelligent girls, but the school system was not right. We would lament. So one day, my husband and I said, "Why don't we start something?" Gandhi always says, "Be the solution or whatever you want to see." So we decided that in our community, we couldn't solve all of Ghana's problems. That one we knew. But in our small community, we could do something. So that was when we started Explore and Discover. And the whole purpose of Explore and Discover was so kids could learn how to weigh, measure, and observation. One other thing my husband always says that we are not observant as a people. He always say that why that would be a crime, and somebody can describe those sketch and they'll apprehend the culprit. So these were the initial things, but most importantly, to create a safe environment where the children would thrive. So they would come and garden, and before the garden, they would read the back of the seeds, the pack, dig 6 centimeters, and everybody had a rule. Measurement was very critical. They would measure and dig and put the sticks in to make sure it was 6 centimeters. They would spend every week, they would come and then they would measure. They had journals and all that. It was a very fun phase for the kids. But most importantly, they were learning. It was a hands-on approach. There's no child who goes through this system of learning and would not thrive. Because we were seeing things firsthand and everything. We rented a place close by. It was a 3-minute drive from the house because I was working full-time. My husband was working full-time, so it had to be convenient for us. So we had a place, put up a sign, and we said, this is it. Maybe God wants us to do this. So we got the place, and we started. But the thing was, it was a property sitting on about an acre of land, and we're only using it on Saturdays. The after school didn't quite work because, Ghanaian schools have extra classes and everything. And there was a lot of traffic then. The N1 was being constructed, so a lot of children got home late. They couldn't come. But on Saturdays, the place was full with the kids having fun. So a friend said, why do you have this facility sitting idle? Why aren't you doing anything else? So we started thinking, maybe we could start a daycare to use the facility Monday to Friday, and then on Saturday, the young explorers or junior scientists, as we call, we have learned, challenges we have had, and the solutions we have tried. And I think our last slide talks about the future of education. Do we have the McCarthy School on the map? So when we started the school, as I said, we wanted an intimate school. We wanted a school that was big enough to provide a range of resources, but small enough to meet individual needs. We are an inclusive school, and by that I mean we accept children with learning difficulties. We have the full, the full specs from autism, ADHD, Down syndrome. The only children we don't enroll are children with physical challenges because of the nature. Our space is not purpose-built. It was a residential facility that we acquired to start the school, and we're on a hill, so the topography is a bit challenging for kids with physical challenges, but otherwise we do enroll every kid. As I said in my introduction, my own kids struggled in school, not because they were dumb or stupid, but just because the school system, the one-size-fits-all, was not good for them. My daughter Issy would spell, my husband thought I was crazy. At the end of every term, I had 200 words in my head because each of them had 10 words on Friday to learn, and I had to learn and help them with strategies to spell. Every Friday, 10 words came from her, 10 words came from Issy. So at the end of the term, I had 200 words in my head. So we wanted a school that would create an environment where every child felt welcome, no pressure, they'll go at their pace, but they will become somebody, because I knew and I believe that. If I see my daughters now, sometimes my second daughter, she's a lawyer. She works in the top firm, and every day she comes to me, they say, I write well, I speak well, I should review. I say, did they know you couldn't spell? You're getting zeros on your spelling. So it gives me the faith that every child can thrive under the right circumstances. Hands-on learning was critical. So we still, to date, we have a petting zoo, we have a garden, there's a competition every class. Sometimes we give them 6-week-old chicks and they have to feed it. And the gardens are there. We have a theme. Every year we have something. But all those things are there. How have we been able to sustain and then grow our business. First of all, it has to do with where our revenue is coming from. And the bulk of it is coming from our tuition, our fees. We have to be, as a school, we've been very sensitive. As I said, this was not something we set out to do. I know every business, you start to make money and everything, but that was not our driving force. I think for us, it was just to provide a space where every child could thrive. After all, we all had our businesses going. I was working full-time. I was okay. My husband had his business. So this was sort of, I don't know if I say a passion or a hobby sort of program. So the key element for us was not about making money, but making sure that the children would be okay. That said, we had to price it in such a way that we attract the right kind of people, because we wanted people who were interested in their children's education. We wanted a certain caliber of parents. So if you wanted the best for your child and you couldn't afford it, we had a scholarship scheme and all that to make up for that. How, as a school, you price your fees, you have to be careful. You know, now there's a lot of competition. And there's also this thing about, I don't know, Ghanaians, if it's very affordable, then they think it's not good. We associate quality with pricing. So that has been a nightmare for us. But as school owners, as school heads, is it only tuition that we can rely on? I would say no. There are other things that come with the industry. Feeding is a very profitable venture. So you could look at feeding, because you can't, and when I get to the next point, I'll talk about this. Feeding, provision of uniforms, the other, I call them the peripherals, that go, transport, busing system. All those are areas that you could increase your main revenue. Cost management. Over the past couple of years, the cost of doing business keeps going up. Cost of living keeps going up. You need to increase your staff salaries, but then you can't pass all those costs onto your customers, our parents. So you need to be creative. You need to look for ways in cutting costs. I'll start with water, the utilities, the ones we can't do without. McCarthy Hill is known for erratic water supply. So right in the early stages, we dug ourselves a borehole, and that's what we're doing. We did a treatment plant. But around 2018 thereabouts, we heard that, water was now, very regular and became too known. So we wrote to Ghana Water, wanted to reconnect. They came and did everything. So for example, in a term, we're spending close to 1,000 cedis on water. Average, the following year, average 1,000, 2,000, 3,000. And then sometime last year or 2 years ago, some magic happened. My water bill came 7,800. So when they gave it, I said, that must be a mistake. Don't worry, I'll go to the office. As soon as I entered, the woman started laughing. Says, Madam, it's not a mistake. I said, really? From 1,200 to 7,800. Says, it's not a mistake. I said, okay. So right in front of her, I picked my phone and I called my borehole guy. Can you come and service our borehole for us? And she couldn't believe it, but right in front of her. So we are back to borehole. That is one area where, because we cannot do without water. And our borehole is just fine. Costs, garbage, even refuse, the little things. So as school owners, as proprietors, these are some of the things that we need to look at. Refuse. Even Zoom line is between 5 to 7 a month. Now they are doing tonnage and something. I haven't seen the scale, but they claim they are lifting X amount of ton. So even Zoom line that I was paying 600 cedis a year, now I'm doing sometimes 3,000 a month. So we go back to the drawing table. What can we do? Compost. Immediately, we because we do gardens, these are things that our students they know already. So we make it a point that we're going to reduce the volumes that are lifted from here. Paper. Paper is another wastage that goes on in our schools. Consent forms, children are going, and I'll talk more about this when we talk to leveraging technology. Consent forms, students are going on a field trip, parents have to sign. In fact, recently, just last term, my staff were not happy with me. Because I said we're not going to print midterm exams. What I did at the beginning of So they were like, oh, the Ghana Day is on the school calendar. What will parents? I said, let them go African print to school. It's okay. And then on 21st, with the World Poetry Day, their recitations, the recitals, and everything they were going to do, we do it there. If we didn't save anything, we saved the cost of renting canopies and chairs and serving water to parents. So there are little things that we need to do. How many of us put together a budget? Do we budget? And I'm not, corporate budget, but at least what you are spending on, because you can, ours is very defined. Our income is defined. It's number of children times. You make room for some bad debt here and there. But you know what expected income is. So do we spend more, or there are some of us who are just spending? You are driving around, you see that, hey, chairs, you're very fine. Then you park, you buy, you just take the money. Some of us as school owners, there's no separation between our personal accounts and the school accounts. We just draw, the money is just going. But you need to be disciplined. Charlotte in her speech said we're looking at long-term sustainability. If you want your schools to grow beyond you, these are some of the things you need to look at. Long-term planning. Long-term planning. What are we doing? What are you doing? School is an institution. I think Ghana International School is one of the oldest schools in the country. They are marking their 70th anniversary now. So imagine if you are about 40 or 50 and you start a school, 3-4 generations could benefit from it if only you do the right things now. So how are we planning for long-term, growth in terms of numbers, in terms of new programs and all that? We decided to stay, although my daughter disagrees with me. I always tell them that I'm growing, so I don't want trouble. And I'm a typical woman, I'm very comfortable where I am. I want to maintain a boutique school. Some parents will relocate. Once I come and start, I said, then I'll drive from McCarthy Hill to here. No, this is very convenient for me. Sometimes I even walk to work. So this is very convenient for me. But then the next generation, they can dream big and do whatever they want to do. But what plans are we putting in place? What plans are we putting in place? If COVID-19 did not teach us anything, see, there's something we say in my church: if thou art prepared, thou shalt not fear. So we need to do long-term planning. Are we setting aside some of our income for the rainy day? Or we are spending more than we are coming? Because Ecobank has best interest rates. My relationship managers, they laugh at me all the time. Say, hey, Auntie Lydia. Yeah. It's very, very important. And one other thing I want to touch on is risk management. I want to use my school as an example. We are on a hill, but the access to the school, Malam Junction. When it rains for 10 minutes, no car can move. The first time we experienced this was in 2015, 2016. There was a heavy downpour. In fact, the buses moved. After about 30 minutes, they called me and said they can't. I said, if you can get back to the school, bring the children back. So 2 managed to come. 1 found a safe place to park. And we were in the school till 12 midnight. That taught us a very important lesson. Talks about preparation, risk. We had never, we think about theft, we are putting burglar proofing in place, we are doing all these things, but we didn't think rain and choke gutters. So the children were there, we didn't have enough water, we didn't have food for them, parents couldn't come in. So we learned a great lesson. At least when we are talking about risk management, the kitchen, they always have to have something that we can, within 30 minutes, we can. So last year, was it last year? Last year there was a downpour, children couldn't go home. And immediately I sent a notice to all our parents, don't worry, we are fine. And around 5:30, we said we fed them dinner. Because this time we were prepared. We knew what was happening. There are so many things that we tend to overlook. Insurance. Ghana, we say, abrofo samne niama. But these days, see what happened at A&C Mall. Was it yesterday or 2 days ago? You understand what I'm doing. So these are things that we need to start looking at. As I said, my younger daughter is a lawyer. And she always says that we want to go the easier way. We don't do these things. Get a professional. Ecobank, fortunately, has started this series. Get professionals to advise you. When I acquired a building for my school, we went through friends and family. We had friends in the US. They said the interest rates were, astronomical, and they wanted to help us. And they gave us a loan. But guess the big mistake we did? We took the loan, but because I wanted to impress them, typical Ghanaian, I wanted to impress the white man, I bought the property in his name. Because I knew when I finished paying, I'll get it. And then along the line, GRA comes and says, you cannot enjoy capital allowance because the building is not in the name of the school. So I'm here today to share some of my experiences with you. Engage professionals so that they'll guide you. When I was doing this transaction, it was just us and them, friends, goodwill. But fortunately, along the line, I brought in a legal expert, and then we went, and fortunately, we've been able to rectify. So these are some of the, I would say, mistakes we made, and we've learned from it. Let us insure our properties. Our staff, these ones, they are even mandatory requirements. Workmen compensation. How many of us have that for our staff? I can see some eyes rolling and all that. Our children, the children in the school, have we insured them? And some of these insurance premiums, they are as low as 20 cedis per child. You see, I always say that there's nothing until something happens. And a few schools have had incidences where they've experienced death. Children have died there. Serious injuries. So have we protected ourselves as school owners? These are some of the things that, lessons we learned along the way. Let me touch on technology a bit. I'm not a tech-savvy person, so I'm going to say what I've been told to say. By way of administration, we have a data management system, and that has made our work so much easier, having all your data at one place. As I said, fee payments, parents pay through the Ecobank app, you get the alerts and all that. Risk, we talk about risk. Some of us are still accepting cash as school fees. So the day that your guy is going to the bank, that it just takes a bad person to notice that when he has this bag, it means it's money going to the bank. So let's take advantage of some of these things. So the data management system, reporting, and some of them, there are a lot of sophisticated ones. Even when your child is dropped off at school, you get the alert that your child has been picked and all that. Teaching and learning. Teaching and learning. Now there's a lot of research going on about digital, what they call EdTech and all that. But I'll tell you what, learning is so much fun when technology is involved. Now, social studies and all those things, if they need a market scene, we don't have to drive the kids to the market. They can just zoom in, they say something live, Google Live or something. You go, we have installed some digital boards in the classroom so the teachers are able to, whatever the term is, Zoom or portray it or whatever. And the kids, it's not every child who learns by the lecture method and all that. So variety and it's making learning. When they are doing languages, French, they can play the audio, even English. English are pronunciations. So sometimes we tell the teachers, let them do the audio. They learn the right way, correct way of pronouncing words. Facility and resource management. Tracking what we have. We are able to input our assets that this computer was bought on this day, and on this date we need to replace it, our furniture. So we keep track of our assets, and it helps with our budgeting. So you know when to replace stuff and all that. And then data for decision making. We collect all sorts of data. What slide is on? The last page. Energy management. Oh, okay. So energy management, this comes under costs. You know, sometimes the power goes off and then people leave. The fans are on, the lights are on. As I said, somebody is paying. So what have you put in? We have these signs by the doors. Always switch off when you are exiting, so that we don't leave these things down. We have also invested in solar, and I know Ecobank is supporting that initiative as well. They call it the sustainable energy. They have a guy, you come and do the estimate and all that for you. So we have, in fact, the solar, it wasn't mainly to cut costs, but as I said, we've invested in digital boards. And of what use is it if you have these tools when there's no power, you know, energy to power it? So we had to do some of these things that we thought were very, very important. Now, data for decision making. We collect all sorts of data. Like I said, injuries, for instance, and it helps with strategic decision making. At the end of the school year, one of the reports that have to come to me is the number of injuries that we recorded and how and where it happened. So I remember by close of year 2018, we realized that about 90% of the injuries were happening on our school field when kids went to have physical education. So we went to the board, we said it's time to put in artificial grass. And because we had the data to support it, they gave us the go-ahead to do it. We collect data on absences. Why aren't children coming to school? If the theme is infection, with ourselves are cleaning. So we call them, we have a meeting and says, we are recording too many infections. What's going on? Data on employee, you know, attendance and all that. Data on fee payment. Who is paying when? How are they paying? So that if you want to make investments or something, you can gauge and see that, oh, maybe the first 2-3 weeks of reopening, about 70% of your income is in. And then even if I use the money now, I know, or I invest the money, I know the last 3 weeks, this percentage is coming in. So data is very, very important in what we do. Technology, a lot has been said about Ecobank platforms. Yesterday, we just opened the door to go to school, and I realized somebody was being nice, washing my car, and I said, then let me pay my salary. So I opened my laptop, and within 3 minutes, everybody had been paid. So it was just 2 transactions. Everybody had been paid. So I looked at her, I said, isn't it fun? That whilst waiting for my car to be washed, I've been able to do the first item on my to-do list today. So there are a lot of platforms available. If you don't know, gone are the days when you did the list and I wrote a check, and then you sent it for it to be. It's just a click of button. And when you do that, you know, my people, they are very funny. Those who have Ecobank accounts, within 5 minutes, hey, alert, then everybody is smiling. Everybody is smiling. Yes, so this is how we have leveraged technology for operational efficiency. Leadership and governance. I'll treat leadership and governance and then succession planning. Governance is very, very important. Some of us, I know most of us usually register our businesses as sole proprietorship. If you're limited liability, then mandatory by law, you need to have a board in place. As I said, we tend to do things haphazardly sometimes. So somebody, you know somebody you call, they do it, they put people there. Some of us have people on our boards that we don't even know who they were or we haven't changed. But now, the Office of the Registrar General, they've made a lot of changes. They want beneficial owners and all those things. My dear colleagues, if you haven't put your house in order, please do so. when we started, we were small, so we had an advisory board. Although we were limited liability, we had an advisory board, and the board was family, you know. My husband and I were the directors and all that. But as we grew and expanded, we realized the need for expertise. Currently, we have a 5-member board. 2 of them happen to be chartered accountants. So it's not everybody you invite to sit on your board just because you've been told you need a board. The first question is, what are they bringing? What can they offer you? What can they offer you? So you need a wide range of backgrounds. The 2 people who are on my board, who fortunately are chartered accountants, one heads an oil marketing company, one works for a multinational, but he's a businessman, he's an entrepreneur. The other has experience in sitting on school boards and all that. There's a lawyer. And I remember the first time we had a proper board meeting, the lawyer, the way they even critiqued the school's vision. What do you mean by this? Those words, what do they mean to you? In fact, the last one we had, I'm very conservative, so I'm afraid of loans. But the last one we had, one of my board members said to me, point blank, Auntie Lydia, it's good to have loans. It's good for tax purposes. Why do you want to use your personal money, in doing all these things? So now they are really pushing me. I'm sure Lydia and Rita will be very happy to hear this. Very soon we are coming. But most importantly, the critique. Sometimes when you are passionate about things, you don't get to see it. We are at the stage where we've transitioned to international curriculum. We are looking to continue a secondary. And the sort of questions that came from my board, have you surveyed your parents? Do they want a boarding school or a day school? Because you've acquired land, you want to build a boarding school. What if your parents want a day facility? So go back and survey your parents. It is important, although it's a legal requirement, I would say that if you don't have a board or you have one, go back and look at them. And the question you ask is, what are they bringing to the table? It's not your friends that they okay everything you say. When we sent our financials ahead, and one board member called and said, hey, at this rate of profit, blah, blah, I asked my daughter, how did he know this was the profit? Within 30 minutes, he had calculated everything, and the questions ahead of the board meeting. As we are sitting here, I'm not nervous for this meeting. I'm nervous because tomorrow we have a board meeting, and I'm trying to anticipate these people. But it is good for business. So even if you're a sole proprietor and you don't have you need an advisory board. Get a varied range. Let them critique you. Let them give you, because they are supposed to help you manage, and achieve your goals. Now, to the most important topic, succession planning. When we talk about succession planning, most people think that who will take over from me when I'm no more? I think succession planning goes beyond that. Think about that teacher you started your school with, has been in your school for 20 years. She understands the kids, she understands your business, she knows your vision. What if, and I'll not say even death, her circumstances change. Women marry, they follow their husbands. Men marry, they follow their wives. That person has to leave. What happens? So I would say that if we are looking at succession planning, aside the leadership, look at your organization. How do you make sure that if somebody decides to leave or is not able to come, will parents notice? And a lot of parents will follow that teacher wherever they have gone. Will they notice? So what do we do? I spread my staff around. I don't care if you're an early childhood professional. At a point in time, you'd go and teach HR, JHS. I move them after every 2 years. Some drag their feet. Some are even upset they leave. But I want people to be able to understand every level. If you are in preschool for 10 years and you don't know how primary school works, a time will come when you are feeding and I think they are criticizing you. So every now and then, I do a bit of reshuffling and I move my people around to prepare them. So I'm on several school platforms, and every morning when I wake up, teacher wanted it. I said, hey, this one, if I add this one to my stress, I'll be dead by now. I always have more than I need. It's cost, but I know what I'm trying to mitigate again, because most people will even leave without informing you. If you have your structures in place, your governance structures, your leadership, you know that you should be looking at it. I call it a bus. Who is on your bus? Are they on the right seat? And what is the potential? You identify them. You start putting in structured training. In Ghana, the normal thing is, oh, if you die, your child will take over. I have been fortunate. One of my daughters is very passionate about school. She's been working with me. But when she joined me, she worked for 6 months, and I sent her to a school to work as a teaching assistant. She was there for a term. She was a TA, washing plates and all that. And then she went to another school as a teacher. And the plan was to go and shadow a head of school, but that was when COVID hit. But she's gone through, and I keep telling her, she trained as an environmental scientist. So she went back to do a master's in education. Now you have the background. So if you identify people, and it doesn't have to be family who will take over. If you identify people, a lot of times we are afraid to invest in our people. Or if you train them, they'll leave. If you train them and treat them well, they'll not leave. But you need to identify them now and start putting in place the structures to groom them to take over. You know, if you have a child who is interested, great. But if not, identify some of your staff. If you treat them well, people have worked in schools for 30, 40 plus years. If you treat them well, they will stay. But you need to start that planning now. Mentorship. Assign your most experienced teachers to mentor the young ones who are coming in and, coach them, direct them, and all that. My time is almost up, so I'm going to wrap up with innovation and the future of education in Ghana. I don't want to sound political, but we all know, each of us sitting here, know that our educational system as it is now is not solving any of our problems. So we'll talk after 4 years, we'll vote a new government to be the same thing. We need to be serious about education. We need a shift towards skills-based education. And by skills, I don't mean carpentry and masonry and all that. Every day I listen to the news, I cringe a bit. You see a journalist, Bong Aha Fo or something. I said, how on earth? We can't even pronounce our local names. Debating skills, because if we are looking at these things, they sit on radio and debate, but is there really any proper arguments being, so we need to focus our education on proper skill acquisition, problem solving, and critical thinking. We says, don't ask the kids, your children, what they want to be. It is what problems they want to solve. Take them around, let them work in the community. What do they want to solve? What problems are they seeing that they want to address? There is a book and a movie. It used to be on Netflix. I'm not sure if it's still there. But I think every school head should make it a point that your children watch that movie. The Boy Who Harnessed the Wind. How many of us have heard of it? You've watched it. That is the kind of children we should be producing in this country. Problem solvers. People to look around and say, no, there's too much filth. What can we do about it? Erratic power supply. I just saw this and I'll share with my daughters. They haven't seen it. Apparently in Japan now, they've done something. As they are working the busy areas, they are generating electricity. I just saw it about 2 days ago. And I thought, wow. And they said, oh, haven't you seen it? We need that kind of thinking to take Ghana to the next level. Thank you so much for the opportunity once again.
Thank you very, very much. Please, another round of applause to her. Thank you very much for those insightful and admirable words. She's sown good seeds. She left off on mindset. I want to share a story with us before I introduce Dr. Yeboah. I am married. I have 3 kids. This story is about a married man, and when they got married, the wife would fry fish in their pan, and she would always cut off the head. Personally, I don't like fish head. I'm a fancy for fishes in abundance. But the husband liked the fish head. So he kept asking, please, why don't you add? The wife says, that's how I was taught by my mother. So, after 6 months, the husband said, you know what, let's go and see your mother. So they go to the mother. And she says, well, that's how your grandmother taught me. Thankfully, grandmother was alive. So the husband says, oh yeah, all of us, let's go to grandma. And grandma says, I will say it in Fanti and translate. Not frying pan, sir. To it, during my time, the frying pan was small. And so the fish will not lie in. So you cut off the head, and the fish is able to go in. So I can't say colleagues, fellow educators, you can just take your hand to your head and pull out the small frying pan. And then you can put back a bigger frying pan. And leave the head, thank you. All right, so on that note, I'll introduce our next speaker, Doctor. As funny as that sounds, it's very, very, very important. These days, you can't tell the kids no phones. They are taking notes with their phones. They are solving problems with their phones. They are not being disrespectful and arrogant just because you are speaking and they are on the phone. So I will introduce Dr. Yeboah on that note. He's a very visionary leader in education. Dr. Charles Yeboah he's a distinguished education leader, and he's the co-founder of ICS, International Community School, which has over 20 years of experience. He's transformed the school from, again, a small home-based school into Ghana's first international curriculum school chain, serving over 2,300 students across 3 campuses, Accra and Kumasi. This is not small frying pan. All right, with deep expertise in educational development, Dr. Yeboah has successfully raised and invested millions of dollars into the infrastructure and expansion projects at ICS. He's played a pivotal role in fostering public-private partnerships and advancing best practices in education. As the chairman and the convener of the Educators Bootcamp since 2016, he has brought together teachers and school leaders annually to drive excellence in education. His leadership also secured Ghana's first ASCD international affiliate, where he served as founding executive director. Now, Dr. Yeboah has been instrumental in shaping national education policy, serving on Ghana's National School Inspectorate Authority. You know that too well, Nasia. They've been coming at you. And he's an advisor. He was an advisor to the former Minister of Education. Since 2020, he's been a board member of ASCD USA, making history as the first African educator on the board since 75 years. I'm clapping for him. So beyond education, Dr. Yeboah he's a sought-after speaker. He's a consultant. He's a thought leader in social enterprises. He's also a businessman. He holds a degree from the University of Abidjan. Alors ça veut dire il parle français. That means he speaks French. For those who didn't understand, the next time now you come with your French teachers and lecturers. He also holds a PhD from Loyola University in Chicago. He's married and he's a proud father of 3. Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Charles Yeboah.
Okay, thank you. Yes, thank you. Okay, thank you. Good morning. And thank you, Ecobank, for the opportunity to share our story. And thank you, Ms. Sano, for leading the way. Yeah, what I'm going to try and do in the next few minutes I have is actually share a bit of ICS story and break it into some 9 value statements that I think will help all of us. Because Ms. Arno kind of strictly followed the guidelines that Ecobank gave us, I'm going to deviate a bit, right? So, yeah. But just briefly about ICS and how we got started. So my wife and I, as was said, studied in the States between the years of 1991 and 98. When we were coming to Ghana, we're going to settle in Kumasi. So I took a trip ahead to check on housing and schools especially. And when I got to Kumasi, May 98, I looked around. There were good schools, all right, but we didn't find one that we thought would make the transition for our daughter who had attended some strong suburban schools in Chicago, easily, kind of help fit easily. So I remember calling my wife, May 98, and telling her school might be a challenge. And she was a school teacher before we went to the U.S. I wasn't. So I remember telling her that maybe we should start a school. And I could almost, hear her jump, in the house in Chicago because she had been wondering, what would I do when I come back? And we were committed to coming back, So as soon as I finished my PhD, defended my dissertation, I was back a month later. I had received, so much support that I felt I should come and contribute to nation building. But never thought that we're going to build a school that will become a big one. So anyway, so when we got back, we did, follow through with our dream of starting a school, but we didn't have money. If you go to school in the States and you don't work, you're not going to have money. So we said something small in our living room. Our daughter, who was 8, couldn't attend because she was just too big, to go to a school in their parents' house. So my wife and I, we gathered, 4, 5-year-olds. They were mostly from our church. And then we had a 2-year-old who just sat in, when the 4 or 5-year-olds came. There were 7 kids, 6 kids and plus our daughter, 2-year-old. Wow. More than 20 years later, we now have 2,370 kids spread over 3 campuses in Kumasi and Accra. Now, we've been asked to speak on building lasting and successful business education institutions in Ghana. And what I want to say and share with you is that building lasting and successful educational institution requires certain attitudes and traits. Globally, 20% of all businesses that start fail in their first year. 49% fail within the first 5 years, and 65% fail within the first 10 years. Now, the precise success rate for businesses or business success in Ghana is hard to pin down. We are not very good with data management. The data is difficult to pinpoint. However, studies appear to suggest that around 70% fail within the first 5 years. That is alarming, isn't it? Now, the data we have in Ghana, or when they speak about business failure, usually doesn't necessarily speak about schools. So I really don't have any data on schools, how they start and how they fare, first year, 5 years and 10 years. But I have an inclination that a lot of schools start, they don't do well, they may be standing, the name may still be there, but as to whether they are making an impact or whether they are really rising and growing is another thing to talk about. I do know few school leaders or school owners that I have interacted with, and I do know that schools, like other businesses, struggle. I know there are several, school leaders or owners that were school teachers or leaders in schools. And then when they retire, thinking about what would I do? I'll be bored, right? Let me start a school. And for some, and for a lot of them, it's more like, just to keep me busy, right? And so for a lot of them, they might not really think about, well, if it grows, fine. If it doesn't grow, I just have some kids I can play with. But our times are very precious. And so I think you want to make sure whatever you invest your time and energy in, you want to see it grow. So there are 9 things that I want to share, and I'll share them very quickly. Actually, I would like to come down so that I can see what is on the slide. Yes. So I will just name them. The first one is the value of humble beginning, the value of visionary leadership and shared mission, the value of determination and hard work, the value of collaboration and teamwork, the value of integrity for any business that you run, the value of humility in business, the value of human capital development. I'm talking about your teachers and the people that work with you. The value of fiscal discipline, the money that you want from the banks and what you do with them. And the value of patience for success. So I will share with them in the order that they are. So the value of humble beginning. I've told you already about the ICS story and how we started with 7 kids. Oh, they can't hear me? Oh, they are recording. Wow, okay. So anyway, so what you can, okay, there it is. You follow me, okay. All right, so we are talking about the value of humble beginning now. So first things to note, just like the ICS story, great things can emerge from modest starts. Right, so don't despise humble beginnings. I think what is important is to know that around the world, a lot of companies that have grown to become giant companies all started small. The sort of Microsoft and Bill Gates and how he started, when he dropped out of college. We know the story of Steve Jobs, the 2 Steves, Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak, who started Apple, started in a garage. And we know Apple is not the biggest company, but among the biggest in the world, right? And then, of course, the Facebook, Mark Zuckerberg. The interesting thing about all these 3, Bill Gates, Steve Jobs, and Mark Zuckerberg, is they all drop out of school, which is not recommended anyway. But the important thing is how small they started and where they are now. So, so the point is to say, you don't need to dream big. I went to school in the States with so many friends who didn't come to Ghana, and they are still there because they have this huge thing they envisage they want to come and do, and if they haven't raised the money or they haven't sorted it all out, they are not coming. Right? You need to start small, but be consistent. Right? We started small, but we wanted to start it right. And that is very, very important. Start small, but start it right. If it is school, you really want to make sure it's about school before it is business, right? I think a lot of us confuse the two. In any business that you run, when I think about starting right, you really should focus on your core mandate and work. And really focus on building a good school and not wanting to make money. Because when money comes first, you compromise on so many things, and the school that you had hoped will solve all your money problems, don't end up solving your problems. So start small, but start right. That's a humble beginning. The next I want to talk about is the value of visionary leadership and shared mission. Now, we all know that for anything to do well, you must know where you are going. Vision is important. Vision is what drives us to where we want to go. if we don't have vision, if we don't know where we are going to go, we won't get there, right? So vision is very, very important. But I know sometimes we overstress vision. Visionary leadership is important. But vision without shared mission will not take you anywhere. And that is critical. So I may be the one knowing where I want to go, but if the people following me don't share the vision, if I'm not able to articulate the vision with them, we will not get there. So yes, know where you want to go and make sure you have sold the vision to your colleagues at work and in the business and convince them, to follow you. Now, to allow or to help your team buy into the vision or the mission that you have, is also allow them to challenge your ideas. If you come to ICS and we are having a management meeting, I'm sitting in, and you don't know me before, it will probably take you a long time to figure out whether there was an owner in the room. Because I do allow my team to challenge my thoughts. And that is why a lot of my staff have stayed with me for 20 years, for 18 years, for 15 years, for 10, because they feel they share in this vision and mission. There are times that they can, kind of shoot my ideas down. And I like that. I have some very, very smart people on my team. And I think it was Steve Jobs that said, it doesn't make sense to hire smart people and tell them what to do. We hire smart people so they will tell us what to do. So if the people that you have assembled in your team, in your school are smart, and I'm sure you hire them because they were smart, allow them to share their views. Allow them to challenge, your ideas. Because when you do that, they feel a buy-in. They feel they belong here. I tell you, businesses and schools, it is not only what you pay them that really keeps people staying with you. It is not just the salary. The salary is important, but it is when they feel that they have a stake in the business, that you respect them. A lot of us don't respect our, employees. We speak anyhow to them. We humiliate them in front of students. And if we do that, they will start looking around and see what other place could I be well treated. So it is important that if we believe that we cannot get there without them, and that we need them, and that we respect them, and we allow them to really have a say in what the school is all about. So that is very, very important. I can say so much this way, but I think you know what I'm talking about. The value of determination and hard work. You know the saying, when life gives you lemons, made lemonade, right? Turn problems into solutions. Now, from day one, we saw a challenge for a good school for our daughter, and there are lots of people that will come and they will say, okay, there's no good school, there are no hospitals, there's problems. There are too many problems in Ghana. I'm going back to where I came from, right? But all the problems we see are opportunities in waiting. All problems are opportunities in waiting. Right? So think about problems as an opportunity. So when you have challenges at work, I always tell my staff, life would really be boring without problems. Right? Life will really be boring because you cannot think and innovate and think creative ways about how do I solve this problem. Around the world and over the history of the world, people have invented stuff to address problems that we have in our world. So problems are actually a good thing. Right? Don't run away from problems, but be determined to face them and then find a way around them. When we started the school, we had, when I tell you 7 to 2,300, you think, oh, wow, you guys, you are lucky. You are. I tell you, in 2000, we have so many problems. Of course, starting the school and, teachers seeing that, this new thing, where is it going? They will come and they will leave. We had our fair share of that, even though I've told you, we have people that have stayed with us for 20 years. Or if all the teachers that came to the school stayed, they probably will be more than the students that I have now, right? So some have come and some have left. Some have come and some have left. One of the biggest challenges that we had was in 2004, when we decided we're going to go strictly to a UK system. We were the first school in Kumasi to try and initiate a Cambridge program. Oh boy, parents were at arms with us. Why would you force us, to do a foreign curriculum? We came here, we like what you were doing, and all of that. The same year, we had some partners from the US, a Christian organization that we had partnered with, that wanted control, when the school was growing, and they decided that if I'm not giving them control, then they are going to, leave. And at that time, in 2004, most of my lead teachers were US Americans. So they gave me a notice in May 2004 that all the teachers, about 6, 7 of them, will not be returning. And they were all our lead teachers. And then they wrote to parents and said, we are leaving. Of course, our parents had become used to these American teachers, and they were good. But all of a sudden, you don't have any lead teacher. You have, some Ghanaian teachers that have come from Cape Coast, all right, and that were shadowing some of them. And luckily, some of them had, learned well and were applying what they were learning. So, the last day of school, 2004, we go to the normal graduation speech and prize, there, and you could feel tension in the air. And groups here, groups there, everybody is talking, oh, we are leaving the school, we are leaving the school, we are leaving the school, we are leaving the school. So in September 2004, we knew we're probably going to have everybody gone, maybe just 10 kids left. So I remember my wife and I, going to the school in the morning, the first day of school, and we're just counting, this family didn't come, but this family came, this family didn't come, but this family came. We lost, out of 320 kids, we lost 160 kids, just instantly. But we had determined that even if nobody returned, we were not going to close the school down. We were going to start, I'm sure there were going to be at least about 10 or 20 that will return. We will start. It might affect some teachers. That was our pain. But you know what happened? God being so good, because we were determined that we will start, we will do whatever. That same year that we lost 60 kids, we had 150 kids join the school in that same year. So the number was almost even, and we didn't have to, fire any teacher. Today, I'm actually glad that the people left, because if they had not left and had not taught us the value of standing alone in difficult times, we probably wouldn't be where we are now. So problems are good, but it is what you do with them that determines. You can decide to fold up, or you can decide, I'm here to stay the whole course, and I'm not going anywhere. Never, never give up. The next thing is the value of collaboration and teamwork. Now, you all know this African proverb that goes, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. Now, I have tested this. There's a little bit of inconvenience, going with people sometimes. I'll illustrate it. I like to walk in the evenings, and I walk briskly. Now, sometimes my wife will say, I like to walk with you. I say, Asamaba, wow. Because when she does that, I can walk. Because she will take her time, And typically, even when we are trying, anytime I have to be so conscious of myself, because anytime we are walking, I see she's way behind, right? I have to wait. I've done few funny things that I shouldn't do in airports, in Europe and America, where, I'll forget myself that she's behind. I'll go and walk, and then I'll sit somewhere and wait for her. And then when she comes, I get up again. So you are sitting. You don't want, so. But anyway, there is that inconvenience. But you can't do without disruption and inconvenience if you want to go far in any business that you run. Right? There is power in the we and not in the me. It is important that you think us and not me if you're going to run a successful business. I already told you about how I allow my team to share, critique. I have built such autonomous group of people that, my principals, my head of training and research people, they can operate, they can share ideas, but I allow them to operate. It's important that you really, really buy into the we. John Maxwell has said, one is too small a number to achieve anything of significance. So you are not that big. And I'm sure all of us have dreams about where we want our schools to go. And we need to understand it will take more than us, more than me, to get me to where I want to go. You need people, and you need to use them. Yeah, so recognize the value of the team you have and use them efficiently and effectively. And share the glory and the credit of success with them. Now, I try and do that. It is difficult to, be doing well and to stop people from saying, Dr. Ebua, Dr. Mrs. Ebua, you've done well. Dr. Mrs. Ebua, you've done well. And it can get into your head and sometimes forget, you didn't get there by yourself. Come on. There is no way you would have achieved this great feat by yourself. I think all the time about the mornings. These days, I go to school. Most of the time, I stay in school for a long time to probably 7 or 6, 7. Usually, we eat our meals in school before we go home. But I don't go very early in the morning. I'm usually in school probably 9, 8:30, unless I have some very important meeting, which I usually don't try and schedule in the morning. I'm getting old, so I don't want to wake up, too early. But I think about the teachers that get up at 4 a.m. because of where they stay, and 5 a.m. And they have to take 3 vehicles before they get to the school. You cannot run something successful if you don't regard these people. They could be cleaners. If you come to my school and I've stopped on my way to my office and I'm talking to a janitor and giving him, real face-to-face contact to make him or her feel she's important. Because without him, without that cleaner, the campus will not be clean. And the parents who complain, they will remove their kids. So it is important that we understand that. So if you value teamwork and collaboration with your team, it also means respecting everybody in your space. That is very, very important. And I really want to urge all of us to really, really get into that. Important to value your team and to respect your team. Next, the value of integrity. We need to foster a culture of transparency and accountability. Integrity builds trust with customers and clients, with your staff, with employees, investors, and bankers, leading to stronger relationship and credibility. Integrity supports long-term success through culture of responsibility, accountability, leading to long-term success and growth. And I want to talk about, as a business owner, as a school owner, or a leader, don't cut corners. Don't cut corners. I think we live in a country or in an environment where people think the easiest way to get to the top is to cut corners and to just cheat your way to the top. It will catch up on you. And sometimes in schools, stories that I hear is about, these exams thing and what to do. If you don't do what others are doing, where would your students be? I tell you what, one of the reasons why, and I'll be very open about this, one of the reasons why we decided to stick exclusively to Cambridge program is because of the integrity of the exams. Because we all know, I'm sure your school doesn't do it, but you all know what happens in these GSS and that schools are collecting money from parents so that the kids will be taught. Completely out of line. Build a strong school and be a man and woman of integrity. I have said it in many places that if your student get a C instead of A star that has been cheated, your student is far better than the one who got A star. So let's think about that, because we are asking students to really, we are preparing them. I mean, we talk about corruption here and there, everybody is cheating, and we complain. And then we allow our students to cheat in school, and then we think when they grow up, they will change from that. They won't. We've taught them so early about cheating. So and then just all of us, if you have a business partner, just be honest with him or her about the business deal. Don't cut corners and try and get ahead, because they'll catch up on you. Those who cheat their way, they go this far and then bam, because nobody wants to do business with them again. The banks won't lend money to them again, because what they say we're going to use the money for, that's not what they use the money for. Right? So integrity, honesty is something that we can't do without. I talk sometimes, when I'm speaking about 3 H's: the humility, honesty, and hard work. Without any one of those, your success cannot be lasting. I think it's very, very important. So let's stick to. And then humility, the value of humility in business. Humility says, I'm not there yet. I am on the road to success. I am not at the destination of success yet. Humility says, I can always be better. I can improve. I can. That is why Mrs. Ano is learning to swim, right? So I can improve on myself. We can be better. We can be better. So humility says, I'm not threatened by what others know than me. I'm happy in my corner, right? And humility, leaders with humility listens. They learn and they admit mistakes. Let me say this, and I wrote this down for all of us that are leaders. To say I am wrong is a sign of strength. It's not a sign of weakness. Because you know what? It takes a leader to show vulnerability. Sometimes we think, I'm not going to say sorry, in front of my staff. What would they think I am, right? I'm just going to stay strong. No. There have been so many instances I have gone back to the school staff meeting and I say, you know what I said last time was just not right. Or I've called a teacher to the side or a staff to the side and I said, I think I was just too harsh. There was one time a group of students were going to do a good thing. They were going to, on a compassionate trip to go and do some work, Joel area, for some special needs school. By the time they were leaving, it was a Friday, and they were going to go and come back, to school. Friday traffic, you all know it in Accra. So just when the bus was leaving, I went in and said, no, I'm sorry, you can't go. Teachers were humiliated. The students had to go back. So the next day, it was Friday, so Monday, I went to the science class, the chemistry lab, and first I had to apologize to the teacher for stopping the mission, and then apologizing to the students for that, even though what I said was important given the time, the way I went about it was completely wrong. Leaders admit mistakes. Let's remember that. It is not macho, to just say, as for me, I won't admit to anything. It's not a sign of strength. It's actually a sign of weakness. The value of human capital development. So, for those of us that run schools, the most important assets you have in your school is not just your buildings. It's also your staff, the human capital that you have. And I have been to so many meetings of school heads where people have protested, I'm not going to train them. I remember one time discussing with the school, owner in Kumasi. I was talking about how, at the beginning and even now, we send teachers to Europe, to the US, we train. By the way, I've done it so many times. We used to send big group to the US, students and teachers. Between the years 2012 and 2019, before COVID, we probably send over 600-700, kids and teachers, probably about maybe 80 of them. Not one of them stayed behind. Not one of them. One, why? I trusted them. And two, I really believe in the value of human capital development, giving them good exposure. Now, have I lost some teachers that I have developed? Of course, yes. But it is far better to train them more and lose some than not to train them more, not to train them at all, thinking that you lose some of them. Train, lose some, keep training, lose some, keep on training and lose them, but there will always be some that are left applying what you have taught them. Human capital development. And let's remember that the buildings are not as important, in fact, as the assets you have. Because the buildings can stand. Imagine if your parents are complaining, the teachers don't know what to teach, they are really beating the kids, and all of that. Would the parents stay even in a beautiful building? They won't. So training is critical. I always say, if you spend 1 million cedis in building a house, in building a school building, would it really be wrong to spend 100,000 training the teachers who teach in those buildings? Now think about it. Maybe you don't have to spend 100,000, maybe 50,000, maybe 20,000. But it's money that you must spend if you want good outcome. And then I think we're getting to the end. The value of fiscal discipline. Fiscal. It's about money and how we manage money as leaders. I know usually the women are better because they don't even want to borrow money, right? The guys, we love to borrow. We like to borrow, but we borrow because we also know how to spend it, right? And many times we don't spend on what we use the money for. I remember, and you are bankers, I don't know what happens, but the first time I borrowed money it was Car Bank then. My general manager came to me and said, now this is probably because I was naive and I just come from the US and I didn't understand anything. She goes, okay, Dr. Ebua, so when are we going to go and see the managers with some envelope? And I said, what? Envelope? Yes. Yeah, you have to go and thank them. I said, okay. Thank them for an interest rate at 20% or 25%. What's the interest rate now? 30%? Then how would I pay back the money? He said, no, but that's what everybody does. Okay, maybe I'll go and thank them and then I don't have to pay the money back, right? No, you have to pay your money back. If you borrow and pay back, it means the banks see you as a credit-worthy school owner, and they want to do business with you. So let's do that. Let's do that. And let's use the money for what it is meant for. If you borrow money to expand the school so that kids will increase, so that revenue will grow, it becomes easier to pay the money back. But if the money feeds you and your lifestyle, it won't help. It won't help. And to pay your loans off on time, I have tried my best to build a reputation that if I borrow, I will pay back. And I will not sit on people's money and buy things for myself and make people see me and say, look at him, how successful he is, even though the money he is using for himself is not for him. And that leads to the last thing that I want to talk about, which is the value of patience for success. In Ghana, I say people like to act successful before they are actually successful. They come out of school, they get a job, they want to buy a car very quickly. And then they go to the mortgage, Ecobank and First Bank or whatever and say, can I borrow money to buy a house? And then when they get the house, they need to get money for the furniture, because if you own, you can't carry the furniture from your rented space to your new home. We need to be patient to show success. And that has been the problems with a lot of businesses in Ghana, in Africa. Because we are quick, we want everybody to see that we have arrived. Look at me, look at Dr. Eboa, he just started, but look at where he is at. You need to be patient. Build the business up, because it's the business that will later feed you, whatever lifestyle that you want. Build it strong. I tell people that we borrowed as a school close to $4 million, invested $4 million in the school before my wife and I, we ever built a house. When we came to Ghana, 10 years, we were just moving from one house to the other. And there were some fellow school owners who came, one lady who came to my school one time and said, hey, Dr. Eboa, you've sunk so much money here on this ground, and you still don't have a house of your own? Really? Something must be wrong with you. No, for 10 years, we were just renting houses. Sometimes, with, landlords that you have to put up with, for some time. But we knew what we were doing. That if we are patient and we build a strong business and the business grows, you'll be able to now pay yourself enough to be able to build the house of your dream. Let's be patient. Again, this is not just for school, but it's for all the businesses that we have. I don't know sometimes how the banks don't catch the business owners, when they borrow and then all of a sudden they have a new Mercedes I think the banks will just go and seize those cars. Come on, you haven't paid me back and you are driving. Well, the Mercedes was some part of the collateral, right? So how would you take it back? But for our own good and for our own future, let's be patient to show success. People come today, after so many years, 7 kids to 2003, and then they say, oh, you are successful, you do so well. And I don't just push it away by saying small. I still believe I am on a journey. I am not there yet. And if you want to know, maybe check back with me at 70 when I'm retired and I'm not doing anything, because you never know. The buildings sitting there may be somebody's money. And if I don't pay, they will come back for them. They will come for them, right? So don't define success by what you have achieved today. Define success by what you can sustain. Because if today you are successful, tomorrow you have not been successful. I don't like to listen to people that were once successful and they are telling stories about how they began and they built this industry and then that industry is no longer there. And they are still talking about it and everybody's interviewing them. What is that? Success is what you sustain, it's not what you used to have. So let's do that. Thank you very much. Yeah.
Please, another one won't be bad. Another applause for him. Building sustainable success. For me, that was it. Not that, some people will tell you, I used to. That's not long lasting. You used to, and now, yes, you still are. Thank you very much, Dr. Yeboah, for those 9 tenets. The one I remember, and I'm sure you will agree with me and understand why I remember, is the value for fiscal discipline. I'm reminding you, don't borrow more than you need. And if you need someone to talk to Ecobank. All right, thank you. I know we've got you seated for long. If you want to just stretch your hands and your legs, I'll just give you a few minutes to stretch before we invite Emeritus Professor Stephen Adey. Maybe 2-3 minutes. I also want to make an exception and serve you water, so don't worry. I will break our landlady's rule and serve you water. So please, I'll just give maybe a couple of minutes. If you want to stretch, use the restrooms. The ladies are to my right when you go out this way, to your left. The gents are to your right when you go out. So just a couple of minutes, and we come back. If you don't want to and you're fine, that's also okay. But if you want to, please.
that one, but that one, when you put the systematic, you now have to do all the hard work. You have to do the hard work. Look at it. On the same phone, when it's all first, and it started from the
Ladies and gentlemen, please, we'll just be coming back shortly, but there's water outside. So if you want to take some water, you can just step outside and get some water. All right. We'll pick up from where we left off. Thank you again for making time to come. Like I said, today is not about Ecobank. Today is about you. So we just want to add that, again, today is not about Ecobank. It's about you. So I am only telling you what will benefit you. So here at Ecobank, we have a youth banking department. What that department does is to take care of your students, your pupils. If you want them to have accounts, you want them to engage them. We share that some of our non-financial support is to engage in, we do clinics, we do seminars and webinars for them. There's conversations on financial inclusion. And so you can engage with your relationship officers. They can engage the team, and the team will visit. And we will have a conversation with your pupils, with your students, when it comes to the conversation of money and financial inclusion. We are moving on. To introduce our next speaker, on the grounds of technicality, he doesn't need an introduction. But for courtesy's sake, I will introduce him. So we have Emeritus Professor Stephen Adey. Now, this one, he's a renowned economist, he's an educator, and he's a leadership expert. Now, Professor Stephen Adey is a distinguished economist, he's an educator, he's a leadership expert, widely recognized for his contributions to national development, to education, to governance in Ghana as well. He's the former rector of the Ghana Institute of Management and Public Administration, GIMPA, where he played a very transformative role in revamping the institution into a premier leadership and governance training center. He has decades of experience in academia, in public policy, and leadership development. Professor Adey has been a key voice in economic policy, in entrepreneurship, educational reforms as well. He served in various advisory capacities, including chairman of the National Development Planning Commission. He's also a prolific author and speaker. He's passionate about ethics, he's passionate about leadership, and he's passionate about nation building for family, for God, and for country. Ladies and gentlemen, please, Professor Emeritus Stephen Adey.
Thank you very much. He did not consult me about the introduction. So I will decide to introduce myself. I come from Shiramwasi. My wife is the best woman God made, and I love kids. I'm not going to compete with my predecessors about their school. Actually, Ghana Christian International High School had nothing to do with its management for 17 years. It's only the last 8 years as a retiree, I've been there as my hobby. But largely, I'll just say only three things then, because my preparation is about how to sustain institutions for the future rather than now. So I'm not going to talk about Ghana Christian, except that we had two brilliant daughters. The boys are not here, so I won't talk about them. And when I was with the United Nations, we felt that they should have some stint in Ghana. So I sent the older one to SOS, was a part of the second batch. Proud to say the first Ghanaian to get IB 40 and enjoyed it so much. Then I said, then your sister also must go to Ghana. Let's try another school. So we sent her to GIS. She's a bit crazier than the father, so she decided to do 10 O levels. came out with 8 A's, a B, and a C. But when these two young ladies came to us at New York, they said, we have had the best of education academically, and I still think that GIS, are there any GIS people here? I'm not advertising for you. And SOS, also SOS, you are both, how can you be both? You went to one and you will work in the other, I see. But they said that if we were not Christians, probably you have lost us. Then my wife and I decided that when we come to Ghana, we have a simple rule. We want a school which is academically as good as SOS and GIS, but which is Christian. So that's, for us, that defines our mission. So the better SOS and GIS become as academic institutions, the more we look to catch up with them, but as Christians. We are 25 years old this year. This year is quite important for me. It's Christian High, that's what the students call it. So our full name is Ghana Christian International High School, but they call it themselves Christian High. We'll be 25 years, so we'll have our silver jubilee. My wife and I will be married for 50 years, so we have our golden jubilee. And both of us will be in our 77th year, so we have our 77th anniversary. Please, can you take a bowl and go around and have, offering of, please, you are going to pay 20,000 because you are the biggest private school in Ghana. And I remember I came as a guest speaker at one of your graduations. You can pay now with inflation, since at that time it was free. So that is Christian High. Our aim is to produce topmost academic students, but equally emphasizing their spiritual and moral development. That's what kind of Christian is all about. But I'm going to talk about building lasting educational institutions. In other words, how we can make our institutions last 100, 200, 300 years. That means that we must have definite strategy for these institutions to outlive us. And I tried, there will be my notes, quite detailed PowerPoints will be given to you, but I'm not going to project it because they were supposed to project is only page 2, the second slide. That gives you the outline. The 34 slides, you can have it. If you registered, I'm sure they will have your email. And if you are bankers, people's emails and telephones are very, very, very valuable. I studied banking. One of my pride or whatever, depending upon the change of government, the just retired governor was one of my students in international trade and finance at Legon. So, and I am a board member of a bank, which I will not tell you because I'm on the platform of Ecobank. And I own shares in 6 small banks because they shouldn't only get my money. I should chop what they get in addition. That's democracy. Let me spend my 30 minutes, about 10, to do a little thing which we academics do. Anytime you are asked to talk, you must find out what others have said about it. That's what research is all about. But the first thing I did was looking at the topic. And I didn't come back to Ecobank because I didn't want them to complicate matters for me, what they mean, so that whatever I say will be correct. First building. And the one thing I want to say about, I got from that word, building means it's a process. You continue, and my lady was talking about, continuous improvement, kaizen. That's the Japanese who say. Lasting. And I says, how long is lasting? We are 25 years. I think that in educational institutions, anything less than 100 years is too young. So we are talking about building an institution that will be at least 100 years. But I wish it will always be succeeding centuries will find it. And of course, we are talking about education. We are not talking about Unilever or Vaco. So we have some uniqueness. But I like the word institution. When you talk about institution, it includes, but it's definitely building something which is different from the individuals involved. And therefore, whether it's a school or a factory or a farm, many Ghanaians don't establish institutions. They do some work, earn money. But if you are doing an institution, you must be looking up for how, after me, in generations to come, will it be there? And you remember Obama came to Ghana. One of our problems in this country is that we don't allow institutions to work and to grow. And the politicians are the worst at it. Now we are having a situation whereby every party wants to appoint its own electoral commissioner. Now they are each one will want to appoint a chief justice. And very soon, let me tell you, when we undermine our institutions, our security agencies, as soon as there's a change in government, everyone goes. When we undermine our institutions, one day, all of us will perish. We must, as a people, start thinking institutional. I always say that, for example, Charlotte Osei was appointed by Mahama, and he lost terribly. Akufo-Addo appointed Jean Mensa, and he was swept away by a tsunami. What does it say? Who is the electoral commissioner does not determine who wins. Let us build an institution. And the word to the wise is Hazakis. Obama, when he came to Ghana, he was being asked about, what we must do. I said, institutions. And you here, I know some of you are in there for survival and other things, but look, you can do better. Aim at building institutions. That brings me to my second point about the work of two great people, Jim Collins and Porras. And this one I'm giving you as a reference. You get a professor is always to give assignments. Go and find these two books, if you haven't read it yet. Good to Great and Build to Last. They are about companies in America, but the principles are good for building lasting institutions. In Good to Great, for example, Collins will say that, and I'm just mentioning three things so that you go and read them rather than me summarizing for you, because Ecobank doesn't pay for Presi. He says that those companies that over time start small, and always you have to start small, as has been mentioned. Ghana Christian was started in my house, because when I came to Gimpa, I didn't need my house. And after 3 years, there were 15 students. The house was both classroom for the boys, dormitory, administration, and we had our 3-bedroom somewhere we rented for somebody, for the girls, because 6 girls, we didn't want them to share the same small house with the boys. And that is so. But they said that good to great companies do undertake cumulative but effective, small, consistent actions that generate momentum and breakthrough over time. I think Doc was saying that, patience and start humble beginnings. Yes. Ghana Christian started, and today, I think that this may be richer than us, but in terms of a school in Ghana, a private school, there's none like Ghana Christian. We are on a 30-acre land, and so big, with our swimming pools, tennis, football, and everything else. But it started at a small place in Ogoshi. We keep on adding small, and the next project, which will be the next 1.5 years, is to build a 3,000 capacity dining hall. On the top will be a chapel, and for examination. But you go small, and it's the build to last. Have a big dream, but go one step. Second, they said they seems to measure on one major drive of success, and they keep at it. For example, he was talking about America. One of the companies, 18 companies they studied, was Walgreens. And the only thing is this: they want shoppers to be able to shop conveniently. They do other things, but that is it. Always they are thinking how the customer will be convenient and not inconvenienced. In Ghana Christian, our mantra is simple: quality academic work, but with moral and spiritual fervor. So our mantra is simply: Christian High is a mission, education is the means, and students and teachers must have it over there. And that means that, we don't compete with many people. We know our niche. We want only parents who want to have academic and moral education. If you don't want the two, there are other schools that you can go. But, for example, last year we took a decision which took us too long. 0 provision. No child should come to the school with provision. Only a boarding school. Some of the parents, this, that, and Yama, got so angry. Some insulted me online and other things. I said, when you are 77, if you say I'm ugly, I've seen myself for so long, you don't need to worry about it. And again, as Doc said, 46 kids were withdrawn. That year, we had more students than we can cope with. In other words, food capacity, and we don't want to be like other places, governments, whereby you just pile students upon students, 30 in a classroom and maximum, and 20 in a dormitory. So you have to, if you are going to brand yourself, you must have something that identifies you, and let other people decide. And in companies as in education. And they taught also about leadership, which I've mentioned about it. And interestingly, the built to last and great, good to great companies have certain type of leaders. They are humble, but they are professional, and the two go together. So when you are, it is at the core of their success is level 5 leadership. You can go and Google what level 5 is, which is leadership which combines humility and strong will to drive establishments to greatness and success. Such companies also say that they put premium on getting the right people on the bus and getting the wrong people out. And it has been mentioned about the concentration on human capital. But on one side is letting bad ones go and encouraging the good ones to be better. Last year, we had to sack 7 teachers straight away because they compromised the school. In other words, and I'm prepared even to sack everybody and start again if our ethic is compromised. 5 of the teachers tried to help students to cheat in examination. Well, they didn't know that in our school, every classroom has these cameras. So we will sack you before somebody come and say that. Why? Because Christian High is a mission. Education is our means. Again, such companies, according to their studies, don't shy away to confront and address their weaknesses. I'm prepared to listen to everybody and correct it, but I'm not going to give in because, especially our parents, we are not talking about it. PTAs are very good, but PTAs cannot drive your school. Why? Because they have a short-term interest. So you must know how to. But I would like to listen to you. But he said, yes. But I'm not talking about you alone. I'm talking about children who will be coming to the school for 100 years. So I have to balance your view with that of the future. In the build to last, they put flesh on these ideas. And again, it says that those companies and institutions that last long are clear in their purpose and they have non-negotiable values. You mentioned it under your what was one of your points about, was it about integrity, values? If you are going to last for years, short term you can, cut corners here, try to align with the politicians here and there, but eventually it will catch up with you. Your core values, non-negotiables, and your mission and vision must be clear. Because, for example, Christian High doesn't want, it's not going to be and will never be like about maybe 60% of your schools here and definitely 99% of public schools. It's going to be Christian, evangelical, moral. We are insisting on morality. We will sack your child if you will not allow us to shape him or her the way we will go. There are other places you can take your child. No questions asked. Of course, we have an advantage that it's not a not-for-profit institution. That doesn't mean that I'm not paid. In other words, what it means is that after I'm paid and everybody is paid and it's transparent, you can go to Ashama That's where our GRA and see my salary, if you want to know it in camera. But after that, nothing comes to. I tell my children, let us build the family estate, because you will not inherit it. But you are going to carry the family vision, which is separate from others. So, but it must be clear, non-negotiable values. You have to determine it. I'm not imposing mine on you, but according to the research, that is important for you to last for longer time. However, this is almost like a paradox. For you to last long, while you are going to stick your core values, you must be willing to adapt to changing scenes. For example, when COVID came, hey, if you are not IT, your students cannot have it online, you are dead. When Akufo-Addo decides free education, hey, a lot of the middle level schools, I know one, I won't mention the name, they fell from 200 and something to 7 students. That is the type of places that Mahama is saying he wants to do a public-private partnership. Of course, it will not include the elite schools. Why? Because we are full. Can we take even one of them? Not one. So, but what I'm saying is that then there was a time, Kufuor says, from 3 years to 4 years. But beside that of economic and political changing situations, there is technology. At this moment, if you are still blackboard and chalk, you aren't going anywhere. We have a branch of our school in my village, and for the first time we have admitted kindergarten people. And the first thing we did is to put a high resolution, television with internet, so that the teachers would teach, but sometimes they will see things and enjoy themselves. And I love them. When I go, they say, "Grandpa, did you bring chocolate?" So we have to catch up. For example, it was clear to me that you cannot build a first-class school in Shiromwasi without first having a Wi-Fi. So the first thing we did is to send then Vodafone to do a tower. And then we are on Wi-Fi. Then the next is to make sure that the ICT library is top class. Why? Because they must have the same access to information like a child in New York. And now we have television in the classrooms. Why? Because, hey, if you have even a semi-illiterate maths teacher, you can put Khan Academy Class 1 mathematics on there, and the children will love to watch it. So you must, in other words, those things you must adapt, while your core values must be constant. It allows you, therefore, to catch up and not become anachronistic. But all the time, you must be holding on your big, hairy, audacious goals, which will vary from place to place. But this is the last thing I'm going to say, and then I'll give you what in Ghana, if we are going to last, what we should do. And the last from them is the fact of homegrown management. If your institution is going to last, whatever happens, very soon, maybe sooner than some of you would think, Yeboah and I will be gone. Now, there cannot be another Yeboah or another Stephen Adair. In fact, one of my staff about 6 months ago said something which changed my mind. He asked me, "Prof, when you die, who will succeed you?" I mean, in the good sense, he was in Madam's face, not that he wants me to die. But he says that, you have been here. When you die, who will succeed you? So I went home, and then I came back with my answer. And my answer was simply, there will not be another Stephen Adair, but there will be other people who together perform like Stephen Adair and better. And that has changed my mind. It means that my job now at 77 is not who will succeed me, but the group who will carry the vision, expand it, and grow it. But those who laughed, let me tell you, I may come to your funeral. And I'll tell you why. My father died at 115. So, many of you may not survive 44 years when I reach my father's age. But the important thing is that it's the homegrown management. And oftentimes, if you are lucky, which I am, I thank God, you may have a generation of your children buying into it. That's also homegrown. For example, the executive director of Christian High, who has banned me from visiting the school. I'm allowed to go there only one day every 2 weeks. So I was there yesterday. I can't go there for 2 weeks. But that's okay. Fortunately, I am an Article 71 candidate. They say they will pay me my salary till I die. So I can stay home. But the most important thing is that, of course, it can be your child, but not because he's your child. In my case, I have a godson who is next, and then my last born, who is 38. So there's many years, and my grandchild is 6 years. So they may succeed in the management, and again, they don't own the school. If they meet the standards. It's my grandson one day asked the grandma, "Grandma, how old are you?" He says, "Oh, I'm 75 years. He says, "Oh, and I'm only 5." So, but the most important discovery is that of the 18 or so great companies which they studied in America, out of all of them, and their existence, if you add all of them, comes up to 1,700 years. Only on 4 occasions have they had chief CEOs from outside the company. In other words, all those great companies, General Electric, all of them, they bring people, they grow them from within. Because then they get your culture, your ethos, their vision, and the rest. Again, a word to the wise is Hazakis. That leaves me to go through at a jet speed 12 things, and the title is 12 Key Elements in Building Lasting Educational Institutions in Ghana. And again, I'm not talking today. I'm talking about looking 25 minimum, 50, 100. Those of you who go to hell, you will be in trouble, because in hell you are so much in pain, you can't remember here. But those of us in heaven, we can watch them for 1,000 years. And I know I'm going with my brother, Yabua. I know he's a Christian and a Baptist elder. Pastor, if I've been upgraded to pastor, me, I didn't qualify. No, I hold a Bachelor of Divinity and a Master's in Theology. But my wife says that you are never going to be a pastor. I say, yes, ma'am. So, the song. Most of the things. Okay, on a more serious note, I thought that you are all English speaking, you wouldn't know tree, so therefore I was going. Quickly, I think that these 12 ones, and I've thought through them for myself, So if you find it useful, so be it. And under each, I have notes on that. So when you get them, you will get the notes, because I'm giving 30 minutes and I've exhausted how many of them now? You have no timer. Okay, then I've exhausted only 3 minutes. 15. I thought I was going to say 15 because I was looking at my watch. But since the timers couldn't remember, I would decide. Okay. The first thing is a clear definition of your core purpose and values. And I'm not going to impose anything on you. I'm in there to make profit. Actually, I'm an economist by training, my original training, because I'm many things since then. But one of the leading economists from Chicago, School of Chicago, Friedman, he says that the first corporate social responsibility of a company is to make profit. So what I'm saying, but you must be very clear about your core purpose and values and believe in it. Not the one you say for the cameras. In Ghana Christian, I believe in my mission to raise godly Christians intellectually among the top, so that in the future leadership of Ghana, there will be Christians among them. That's my aim, and I'm passionate about it. I have a sub one in my village. We have a branch there. It's to really Christianize the Asokwa district with Christian intellectuals. And I'm so proud that the last time I was giving a lecture in Tech, 40 alumni from Ghana Christian International High School, Shiremwasi, not Accra. And when I said 40 of you, he said, oh, they were students there. If you want to Cape Coast, we are in the hundreds. Because for 6 years, that's a secret. Ghana Christian International High School, Shiremwasi, has been the best performing WASI school in Ghana without corruption. So what I want to be very clear, why you are in education, what your institution, what is purpose and core values. Number 2, that must have a home. I call it ownership of purpose and values. You see, if it is Stephen Adair's purpose and values, they will die with me. That must be Americans will say, transvision it, so that the board, the trustees, call the principals, the leaders have bought into it, because that is the one going to assure sustainability. For example, we have several principals. Since we have several programs, so our Cambridge school has a Cambridge principal. It's actually several schools on one campus. If you go to our main school at Dodowa, we have the principal for Cambridge. It's a school with its teacher, principal for WASI, principal for the junior school, and a coordinating principal. These people, if they don't buy into the vision, they are there to get money, it will not. If you go to my village too, we have the principal, there is only WASI. Principal for WASI, but another principal for the junior school, and a principal for primary. And these are, in addition, the administrators. We have a 1,100 boarding school in Accra. You have the feeding services, the hospitality itself is a full industry. And therefore, you must get someone in charge. And We overfeed them. They have breakfast. They have snack at 10:30, lunch. They have fruits at 4, dinner and chocolate drink at 9 p.m. And when I was said no provisions, and some of the parents were saying, I said, tell me any parent who feeds your child like that, I'll come and teach me and then I'll learn. And they all shut up. But what I'm saying, that is an industry. During this time, 6 meals is more feeding than moving pick. And therefore, you must get some. And that person must buy into the vision. He doesn't see that, as for me, I'm a cook. I am a cook only for Hill. Don't quote me. I'm a cook of the best secondary school in Ghana, producing Christian leaders for the future. So he doesn't walk by that and say that, no, I'm a cook for that purpose. She must buy into the vision. We have an infirmary, which actually is bigger than many hospitals in Ghana. We call it infirmary because if you call it a clinic, then Hofra will come and say, yeah, you are running a clinic here. I'm not running a clinic for money. But my children must have a doctor on site, 4 nurses at all times. That is an institution. And all of them. So what I'm saying, we are not only the academic, but everybody must be involved. The one in charge of transport and once you have that, my aim is the ownership of the vision by these people, because they will be the one carrying over. Number 3, high quality academic programs. A school is a school. Then you come to Christian High. They sing well, Latins, they read their Bible. No. A school is different from tomato factory. What is a school? To produce top academic results. And let me tell you, no school will last if they compromise on that. And anything, and there are many things you can say about it, we are not talking about, time will not allow me, high quality deliveries. Of course, if it's secondary school, there's standard tests, Cambridge, IB. You must meet that standard. I'm not one of those people who believe that, the more you pray, that you finish. No. You deliver quality. Let me just interpret, since I've mentioned quality, a very important joke about quality. Somebody from my part of my village was teaching the children quality spelling. I said, Kwality, quality. Then the education officer went and they called him. Quality is spelled Quality. So he returns to the class. He says, children, they have changed the spelling of quality in Accra. The education officer just told me. So from today, it's Quality. Please spell quality with K. Not K, but with Q if you are in school. You must choose your curriculum. My friend decided that, he wants the integrity in, so he has chosen Cambridge, others IB. The reason why we do Cambridge and WASI is to meet the needs of both Ghanaians and those who are going outside. Because if you, either way, and I allow them to choose, but also to set a standard that there can be a WASI school. In my village, when they do the WASI, they tell, and it says, be careful, don't abuse it. When the examiners come, they say, as for Christian high people, we can leave them. They won't cheat. There must be a standard set over there that in Christian high. But we don't SOTA, we don't do BEC because about 14 years ago, we sent students when we started with secondary and we came down. Our children went to do BEC, and when they came after the first examination, we had to bring in clinical psychologists because they were insulted, wicked, evil people for not sharing their answers with other students. So I wrote to all the parents, my school will not participate in BECE unless GES has straightened up. Because, but in my village they do it because most of them go to the continue, and the people know that my students must be given a separate classroom and won't be tied any of them, because if I hear that you have gone there to cheat, the next day I won't take you back to go even take your examination. So we must. Let me go to the fourth and quickly. Since it has been said, teachers and staff, teachers and human capital make educational institutions. And since they have said all of them, let me just add by saying that we must attract quality talents, professional studies. For example, we did it now this year. Since we have gotten so many new ones, we normally take them fresh from school. Some people have been poaching and say that I'll kill them because and we provide free postgraduate teacher training for all of them. We want to upgrade them in addition. So, because and these days, ICT competencies, very, very important for your teachers. And Ghana today, because of migration to overseas, you must also provide for people running away. Beside poaching, there's immigration. But you cannot not invest in the professional development, especially of your teachers. Let me move on. The fifth one, systems. Fortunately, they had talked about it. I'm systematizing it, even though we hadn't consulted each other. You talked about financial integrity. You must have a financial system which will immediately highlight that there's something wrong. Enduring institutions are built on strong system so that people can say, this is the way we do business, the IB way. It should be also the Christian highway. Your human resources system, recruitment, training, retention, rewarding. Some of you will say, oh, we are so small. You too go grow. And the earlier you put the system in, the better. The financial management system I've mentioned. Unfortunately, because of corruption and everything, the word bureaucracy is a bad name. No, a bureaucracy means that an organization with rules, values, and systems. Ghana Christian International High School is a bureaucracy. And therefore, it must have run on certain systems. Without it, for example, we have 352 staff. It's one of the biggest employers in Ghana. And it cannot be that, Kwade has come. What to say? I'll be nice. But then sometimes, the accountant sometimes laugh. I call him, I don't know, my bank is Ecobank. That's where my salary comes. But Ecobank is the last place to get, because Ghana Christian, though they have you as their major bank, and correcting other things. The salaries are paid through GT. And the connection between Ecobank and GT is not fast. So sometimes I will call the accountant, nah, when is the salary coming? Then he laughs. He says, yes, it's the fault of your bank. Anyway, now I've gotten used to it that I always get it 2 days after the payment over there. But the question is, the system is there. I don't sign a check. I don't think I've ever signed a check. Why? Because it's not for me to sign a check. There's a system that takes care of it. Actually, that has been my fashion. In Gimpa, 9 years, the rector, I never signed a check. You know, when I left, I reached 60 on the 8th of December 2008. That was a change of government. So I was employed 1 year before even the NPP came to power. But 9 years coincided with their losing power. So to other people's mind, I am like NPP, I'm going with NPP. So they brought in forensic auditors, engineered by people within, who, you know, they couldn't publish the audit because I never signed a check in my life. When I signed a check, it means that my deputy had traveled. And my deputy, sadly, was the one who succeeded me and engineered the audit. And all the checks were signed by him. Because you put in a system, if you put in a proper system, you don't have to be involved. And in fact, it is my rule that the one who oversees the system should not be the operator of the system. I used to laugh when I was in Gimpa. When auditors come, I joke with them. I go, they will always use our conference room, which was behind my office. I said, hey, who are my unpaid servants? And they said, Prof, what do you say? I said, by God's grace, I will not steal a penny. So if you are here, you are serving me. If somebody has chopped, you will find it out for me. Then they will laugh. So the systems are important. Then comes the learning environment. Especially now, more important than before. When we were young, the teacher considers you as having nothing in your head. They come and pour something in it, and you recall. And if you're able to recall well, you pass. If you happen to be one of my classmates, of blessed memory, Hannah Baden, the person is having difficulty, and they will beat her. Why do you beat somebody for not being able to do mathematics? It is the fault of the teacher. And then, but this day and age, once you improve the environment, the child learns themselves. In fact, the role of the teacher, and I'm struggling with my teachers to understand, you are not there to teach them. You are there to facilitate their teaching. You know, everything, the other day I tested it. Me, no scientific background. I decided to go to the net and learn if I'm going to teach thermodynamics. What I will do. Charlie, nicely written. I could understand it, and I could, if I wanted to teach, I could teach thermodynamics. High-level physics. Quite there of Hiromwasi. And say, you also training college graduate. Why? Because it's there. So if you have a good environment, you do what we say reverse teaching. The children can actually study themselves, and you come to class. And in our school, every child must have a Chromebook. And now we don't allow any teacher to put any notebook exercise, hard copy. You have to post your lesson and you are online, so that the child will be forced to. But don't let children be only computer and tablet. They must give them assignment, let them read, let them work in groups for their social development. So the whole environment, the buildings, the reason. Yesterday, when I was allowed to go to the school, I was talking about something, and then I had to talk about botanical garden, because now botanical garden has a new name. It's called Arboretum. And anytime I got it wrong. And the teachers and everybody were laughing at me. I say, I'm speaking English of Shiromwasi. But we want to create, in addition to the classroom conditions, also the environment that the children will go. They will have botanical gardens, sit under trees. Now we have ordered 20 chalets, which is purpose-built, which is there. They can sit under. Of course, those of you in Accra cannot have that facility because I have 30 acres. You are squeezed on 1 acre if you are lucky. But even then, you can improve the learning environment because build to last. Look at the environment. 7, culture. Culture it has to be deliberately nurtured. Your beliefs, your values, the behaviors, and everything else. Just the past month, I've met 2 people who have commented about the Christian High. I have to probably go and say hi to the teachers and thank them for it. He says, there's something unique about your school. When you arrive, the first student you meet says that, what can I do for you? And I'll take your bag. This is a culture. It comes with time. And then one was about 2 years ago. One of my board members, the security people didn't know him. And he wanted to come in. They said, you can't come in. I'm a board member. He said, you can't come in. This is not a visiting time. So Kofi Agama calls me. He said, I'm standing at the door. The security won't allow me to come in. I said, can I? You don't walk there because you're a board member. But he was going there for a good reason. He was passing by. He wanted to encourage the principal. So I said, Mr. Mo, let him come in. Yeah. But to me, what I liked, when we went to the next board meeting, he says, I'm proud of this school. Because if in another school, as soon as you say board member, the security man say, you are a board member or not. This is not a visiting hour. And he had to get permission from the executive chairman. But the culture, because if you don't build a culture, then and it becomes one man, one show, and then once you are not there, answering the question of what will happen to you, Stephen Ade, when you die? I say, Sakuna Matata, when I die, and you will be there. And that person was the chaplain. That brings me to the 8, the product. If you are going to last as an institution, you must always have your product in view. And here we are talking about a student. What student do you want to produce? Because that will inform everything else you do. And at Christian High, given our mission, is so important. The product, individual product. You may not succeed with everybody, but I'm looking for a top academic person who is moral, disciplined, and hopefully a born-again Christian. If you want your child, bring them there for that. You mention Christianity, they are so angry. Take your child away because I have a certain product in view. One of my childhood friends, Ganu, he's in America now, very successful. One day he called me, Stephen, as for my child, he's coming to your school from America. And no, he can pay. So no problem with fees. I said, Gano, think about it. I don't think you should send your child to my school. Why? And we have an appellation since we were in middle school. One will shout, Dangre! The other one will say, Seashore! There was a teacher who was teaching us some music about the great seashore. And we didn't understand it. And they say, Dangre! Seashore! So we have done that for about 70 years. And so that's how close we are. And I said, the reason is this. We are friends, we eat together, but we are Muslim. I'm a Christian. In Christian High, when your child comes, he cannot call on Allah. And there will be no provision for that. We don't allow it. So, he can't. Oh, Stephen, I said, that's the truth. You decide. Eventually, child didn't come. There are some Muslims who say that we will send our child, we agree. And then you sign. Because before you come to Ghana Christian, you must sign our code of ethics, the parents who, our statement of faith, and our disciplinary code. You sign. So in our school, when we sack people, we don't have to go through a process. We quote the line, and you go. So that is, I'm talking about culture. But if you do a culture, it has a life of its own. And you must, in your school, decide on culture. How you want your product and how they want to behave. 9, I will only mention it. Financial sustainability. If you don't know this English, let me, and then you go and find out. Kwachi DFS or the Sikanetos. Kwachi DFS, the Sikaneto. That's Kwachi's beautiful wells are purchased with money. You must have that one in view in setting your fees. For example, we at Christian High, for example, we are non-for-profit, therefore we determine how much we need to run the school, plus a margin for development. Now, we implicitly have also a margin for endowment. Since COVID, we were caught pants down, which means that we must always have money to be able to run the school for at least 6 months if no income came in. Again, it's very important. Some people have access to, talking about 4 million, he has access to also fund at least loan, not a gift from America. But I go to the bank. I haven't come to the Ecobank. But when we were moving to Dodowa, we went to Barclays. God bless them. You know, they gave me $900,000 on my signature alone. This idea of collateral, in other civilized jurisdiction, they look at your integrity. And in fact, when they came Barclays, and I never went to Barclays, it was only my officer who went to Barclays. They brought the thing to be signed. And they said that, oh, Ghana dollar was about 10%. And I said, what? 10%? No. Let me tell you, my dollar and George Bush dollar is the same dollar. And therefore, if you give me $1, I pay the same as George Bush dollar rate. Listen, I'll come midway. I'll pay LIBOR, London Interbank lending rate, plus 1% for being in Ghana. They said, no. I said, why don't you go and ask that time Barclays Bank headquarters that Stephen Adair says he is borrowing at LIBOR rate in Ghana. After 2 weeks they came and said, you can have it. No collateral. And that brings me to the integrity issue. Why would Barclays Bank Ghana give me $900,000, not secured by any building, nothing, just on the basis of my signature. In fact, I borrowed from them 3.3 million to improve Gimpa. I should have done it as a private thing, without government guarantee, without anybody's guarantee on my signature. Integrity pays in the long run. At this moment, I'm planning, this one I have to complete it. I'm planning to borrow, we are going to do a new site, $5 million. Some bank, which doesn't have my current account and other things, for 2 months have already come to me and taken all my past accounts. Say that we have heard about that and we want to offer you the $5 million. I says, I'm not ready. It will be somehow next year. He says, yes, we want to assess you so that when the time comes, we haven't talked about interest rate, so we better talk about it. And then you can come. $5 million. At a certain time, you have to cash in on your integrity. But financial, I won't. Of course, you do endowments, you work with your partners, and this. Let me go to 10. Monitoring and evaluation and adaptability. Listen, at this moment, we have employed a new officer, a doctorate holder, and we said, no, 1 month we are not allowing you to go to any department. Oh, yes, we will pay you. You have come from Abuchire with your eye open. Look at all our systems and tell us where we are good, when we are bad, where we are silly. Just give us a report. That's what we are paying 1 month for. Why? Because somebody else must be, we say in Akan, the old chakwai. When you say the one who is making a part by himself cannot see whether he's on a straight course. And you have to be brutal about it. This man has all the audacity. Yesterday I passed by, yesterday was one of my 2 weeks. I said, I just wanted to test. How are things going? You talk about one department. That one department, the student even don't trust you. Then I said, let's stop here. When you have finished, because I don't want to comment for him to say, hey, then I have to be careful. And it's about our counseling department. And he says, your counseling department. The students don't trust them. Would they go there for advice? Let's go to, so monitor, evaluate, and change the system. Last but one, long-term strategic thinking. You know, just for since you have all come here, let me give you something which will be personal to you. For decades now, always have a 10-year personal strategic plan. And every year I have my annual plan based upon it. For example, let me tantalize you with one. When I was 60, I said that, now that I have finished my national service for Ghana, for the UN, Commonwealth, and everything else, I'm going to work for myself. And it would be nice to be a millionaire. So one of my 8 strategic objectives was to be a millionaire before I was 70. And not from Christian High. Christian High, everything, they know my salary. That's all. But actually, they give me a vehicle with fuel. And they have just bought a brand new Prado. And I'm who says, when I live in Brekusu, how I suffer with my bombs. This one, boom, boom, boom. And I'm saying, proud of Boniana V8. But you know, because I work with strategic framework, I was able to reach my target, missing it by 1 year when I was 71. And you're bad. Because actually, if you have 250,000 as a package on your retirement, and you are having 17.5% return, it doubles every 5 years. So in 5 years, it became 500,000. The following 5 years, voila, 1 million. But the point here is this: unless I was thinking strategically, I would have chopped it. In fact, one of my nieces in the village, when he heard I was retiring, I went to the village and said, Offer, and they could you lump sum me and Chenny. And I was shocked that the village girl knew lump sum, and he knew what he would like to use it for. Fabra, me and Chenny. In the same way you are school, it's amazing what is not possible in the short term is possible in the long term. For example, I plan to gather Christian to spend 100 million cedis in the next 5 years. But I realize with the cedi falling, even 5 million reaches that, so it may be 200. You have to think long term, and then you will see small things will get you there. Finally, brethren, that's Paul. When you say finally, then he has gotten 2 pages to talk about. But I can assure you that mine will be only 2 minutes. You must build a constituency, both of your alumni, the good parents, strategic partners. He mentioned it. If you want to go fast, you go alone. If you want to go far, you go with others. One of the things we have not done well, and I'm putting a full-time person on it, is alumni tracing and servicing them. Do you know what? Now they are building their houses, they are doctors, they are proud to say, oh, I went to Harvard. In about 40 years, they will be thinking about legacy, endowments. That's where you'll be there. And somebody's will is read and say that there are $3 million for Christian High. Why? Because he has made it in multi-millions in America or Europe or in Ghana. Start building a constituency. Your teachers are your first constituents. I have 352 staff. That is a big constituency. How many do you have? 400. A big constituency. And within that, you have all the level of intelligence. For example, let me give one which bugged my mind about 2 months ago. You know, we have 2 schools, Wasi and Cambridge, on the same compound. They eat together, they play together, but principals. And of course, if you are a Cambridge person, you walk like this. And then it's supposed to be, if you are Wasi, the maths teacher actually in Cambridge realized that one. And he said they are going to do inter-school quiz mathematics. On 3 occasions, the Wasi people beat the Cambridge people. The school is now on the same level. I mean, this is, if it was dependent upon me, but you know, he just saw it. And that has already changed the whole atmosphere. Now in Christian High, if you are in Cambridge, it doesn't mean you are better. You are on a different program. And we are all students. So the other day I went there and I whispered, I said, Mr. Dazi, can you extend it to science quiz? But this is your teachers are your constituencies. And do you know the type of people I talk to much when I go there? The laborers, the drivers, they have some ideas, and they can tell you even, this department is okay. This department, for example, transport people. I had seen something wrong. One person told me, and I investigated, and it was true. If you don't change the head of the transport, and true, investigated. In other words, they are your constituency, the parents, the alumni. I believe that we will start behaving differently if we are thinking long term, minimum 25 years. But if you are starting to practice, 10 will do for a start. God bless you.
Thank you very much, Prof. I can't add to that one. I will dare not add to that one. Otherwise, the landlady will have to slaughter a cow. So, ladies and gentlemen, our time is far gone, but we did this again for you. We will just jet into a question and answer time. If there are some questions bothering your mind, we'll just Mrs. Ano, Dr. Yeboah, Prof, if you can kindly come again. The staircase is to my right if you want to use it. And if you want to be energetic like Prof and skill, please, you can just sit down. All right, so if you have a question, you can just shoot up your hand. My colleague is in the audience. You can either direct it or it can be an open question. Anyone? I don't. Okay, all right, Daniel. Yes. It can also be a contribution because the fact that you are not here does not mean you don't have a story. So please, if it's a contribution, it's also welcome.
Okay, my name is Samuel. I want to ask Prof, in terms of long-term planning, trying to set your fees and then knowing what you want to save. You made mention of COVID-19 coming in and then trying to gather some money and all that. Realistically, what should be the maybe profit margin, or what should be the rate that you can use to determine what you need to save? That's my question.
Well, that's very difficult depending upon your philosophy. For example, basically, we have maintained our dollar rate for 25 years, an average of $5,000, but the CD equivalent. And we actually, in our case, we do cost plus. In fact, cost plus. What is needed to make our students comfortable and pay our teachers, plus a development margin, and then an endowment margin. So that is, because my salary is part of the cost. So it's not, and I think that if you are for profit, sometimes some of the parents think that they should have education for free. But then that's why you have President Kufuor and Mahama. If you come to a private school, it's not for free. If you didn't do even at treasury bill rate, at the forced reduced rate now is still about 15%. Interestingly, don't worry about it, but economists have what we call ICO, incremental capital output ratio. The underlying ICO of Ghana is about 15% a return if things become normal. So I think that if you are a private investing your resources in education, you must also get a margin of about 15%, including your salary. And what my sister said is very important. Even if you are an individual owner of the school, you should have a salary. If at the end you get a profit, that's for you. But this idea of, me kwa ye, 3,000. You don't do business with it. Everyone, I'm sure my friend with all his money still on salary. Except that, I have to visit him quite often. So the margins are determined about your return on investment. However, education is such that often the returns come much, much later. I'm sure for many years you were only putting money in, without even a house. But if you didn't have a long-term vision, he wouldn't have survived. So again, it helps you to have this strategic plan so that you know that you can suffer to gain, even if you are purely for-profit institution, which I'm sure many of you are. And that is good, because I believe that the laborer deserves his wages. You have borne the risk, your home money. If it fails, you lose everything. So, but if you want a detailed strategic plan advice, you see me in chamber properly. I like the smile.
Any of you want to add on to that? Oh, okay.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. First of all, I want to thank Ecobank for putting this amazing seminar together. And I want to thank the leadership of this seminar. My question is about discipline. I generally want to ask how Prof. or Mr. Yeboah goes about discipline in the school. The name of my school is Western Montessori School, and we are very keen on discipline. One of our core mandates is to be able to bring up the children in a very Christian and moral, uplifting their moral values. Okay. Now, quickly, we are slowly, or we've entered a system whereby now LGBTQ plus and the likes is very, very dominant. And as a Christian school, I want to ask them, what is their take on it? How are they able to discipline the children? Is sacking the only way, or how are they able to train them in that light? Thank you very much.
Well, I think we, in our mission statement, we use the word inclusive, right? But inclusive doesn't mean fully inclusive. So in our part of the world, we respect our culture, so we are not an open school, meaning that anybody can come in. So I wanted to react to the issue about, the issue that the government has been dealing with, the parliament, passed, but it didn't. So you have to know your values. And when people come, we've had a number of inquiries where people have come and described, okay, as for my daughter, this is what she wears. And so I said, no, in our school, we don't do that. So there are a lot of schools, so you have to be principled. But in terms of discipline generally, one of the things that we try and do is that discipline must lead to restoration. And you are not punishing to send a message only to the rest of the students. You really want to think about reintegrating the child into mainstream behavior and practice in the school. So we use our counselors a lot. You know, when a child does something, another thing that we have tried to do is be a little bit non-Ghanaian, and I'll explain what I mean by that. Because recently we're going through CIS accreditation, and one of the things that they had pointed out is, you know, typical Ghanaian school, we discipline in front of others, right? The world is changing a lot. So we have learned the value of calling a child into a private conversation and letting him or her know what he did and why what he did was wrong, and so that you're able to help him or her to understand and walk him or her way back into the kind of behavior that you want. And then also avoid humiliating the kids in front of their peers. It is difficult to do. You need to work with your teachers to be able to do that. But the key thing is that the kids must know, so the values, you know, in the classroom, what you can do, what you cannot do, and usually the punishment is in the handbook that the parents have. But ultimately, you know, you do this out, right? And, you know, we had a police, especially if a child, you know, boy and girl did something in the school. You don't want to compromise the school's reputation, but we also realize you have 14-year-old, 15-year-old, 16-year-old that you have to deal with, right? So what is the school's mission towards these kids now? There are certain things the kids know you won't come back to school, right? You'll be gone. But there's also a need to really integrate counseling and support pastoral care so that the kids understand why you did what you did, and not just throw them out. And so we try and use counseling departments in the school. So not only do we have just a guidance and career counseling, we also have, you know, emotional counseling so that you can help the kids really get back into the kind of behavior that you want. So that's what we do.
To add to what Dr. Eboa just said, for some time now, we have decided to reward positive behavior. We're spending too much time on this person has done this. So we ignore them and we reward those who have turned in their homework on time. They've done a good job. And children want to be rewarded. They want to be seen. So sometimes we focus so much on the negative. Sometimes it's good to shift to the positive, rewarding positive behavior. Everybody wants to be rewarded. Mentioned at assembly that this person did so and so. So if we focus less on the negatives and project more the positives, we make some headway. Thank you.
I think that it starts first with your good handbook and the code of conduct. In fact, in our school, both the parent and the child, in addition to the things they sign, is to respect our code of conduct. And also, within that one, there are grades of punishment. Most of there are about maybe 2 or 3 things. When you do, you are dismissed immediately. But that is extreme ones. The rest, there's warning, they have internal suspension, and all that, and gets to a certain, but also there's a red line. When you reach there, you are out. And that, even when people have 2 weeks to examination, Cambridge and WASI, we dismiss them. And the parents have to drive them to the examination hall, which is, we happen to be at a center for both Cambridge and WASI. With the same school, but your parents will drive you because you have missed. I think that the only thing I will add is this. In all discipline with children, including being at home parenting, I've found that drawing a line and not shifting the post helps the children more than, Yes, it will be discussed. Yes, the discussion has a different thing, as you said, for you to understand other things. But you have crossed the Rubicon. This is what will come with it. As for that one, I'm very conservative about it. I haven't been modern yet.
All right. Any other question?
Okay.
Please go ahead.
Thank you very much for the opportunity. I've been inspired by the 3 speakers we've had today, because looks like all the 3 schools that have been put on the table before us today were inspired by a certain need. Prof spoke of a need, Mami spoke of a need, and then Doctor spoke of a need. And in our Ghanaian setting, especially with up-and-coming schools, you have the overbearing hands of the GES with their supervision, wanting to go the strict Ghanaian way, where some of the methodologies being used really don't encourage the children in the way they study. They come, there is a curriculum, they want you to go strict to the curriculum, and then you have to do this way, do that way, do that way. But the normal way of teaching in the classroom, especially when Mami was giving, wasn't helping. And you need to have other ways to help. I want to find out from our speakers how to maintain the aim that inspired the setting up of the school and keeping to the vision and the hole you want to fill in the educational sector, without still minding the GES coming and making recommendation of the negative recommendation of this school doesn't go by the GES rule, they are not a proper school, they are not this, because parents also look out for these things. Once a GES officer comes to pass this kind of judgment on your school, you can be sure that parents and the community will jump onto it. So how do you keep this niche you want to catch for yourself or fill this pothole you see in the educational sector and still be able to keep within the system?
All right. Thank you. Let's have Mrs. Ano answer that one.
The Ghana Education Service is an oversight organization. And I think it's been said here by all 3 speakers that you need to have a vision. What do you want to do? When I started my school, I wanted to raise all-rounded children who could play musical instruments, children who are exposed to all sorts of, ballet dancing, all those things. We do cultural dancing, we have swimming, we do gardening, everything. And GES, it ties in somewhere. If you look at, OWOP or Creative Arts, there's music hidden inside there. But as a school, our goal was every child going through the school should play at least 1 musical instrument. When we started, we were selling an enhanced GES curriculum. And I'll tell you here, there was no way I was going to pursue an international curriculum, because I'll say to myself, I don't know if it was patriotic foolishness. I said, no school in America will say they are doing the Ghanaian curriculum. So I was trying very hard to see some good in it. You see where I'm coming from? I was trying very hard. I said, it is an enhanced curriculum. We'll do all these extras. But when we get to the assessment, the integrity of our examination, you have to stand for something. There was no way we were going to do that. I lose a lot of parents every year when BEC results come. And I don't mind. Because there's one thing I tell parents. There's no way I'm going to pay money for your children to cheat. There was no way I was going to do that. And you stand for that. So gradually we had to turn to international curriculum. Everything is fixed, you know what you are doing, and you stay the course. You can't follow the crowd. People print banners, 100% distinction. It doesn't mean anything. what do the children really know? So I tell them, when your child enrolls in there's a life beyond BEC. Coming to think of it, what do they use a BEC certificate for? It's only placement. That's all they need it for. But there's a life beyond BEC. So we're equipping them with skills that when they go out into the world, they will make it. So I wasn't bothered as well. And I've never, sometimes the teachers accuse me when they are writing exams, I don't even go to the center. I say, what am I coming to do there? I don't even know where they write. You understand what I'm saying? So it goes beyond that, but it should be your personal, what you want to achieve, what you stand for, what are your values, what are you looking to impart to the children? And that's how you start from there. Thank you.
First of all, I have two answers. One for your type of schools and what I do. Because I believe that whatever, when these small schools and that things up and coming, you can meet the GES standards and still do everything you want to do. So that is my answer for your school. But in my case, I'm willing to fight the whole of GES, and they know it, because some of them are crazy, some of the things they require. We said we have just started the primary school, kindergarten lessons, and you go in class 1, they have to do about 10 subjects. And I say, you must be stupid. And the word is stupid, to ask a child of 6 years old to do 6 subjects. What the child needs certain foundation, because first they can then later on read it. So I went and at primary school, I said, look, let GS come and I will take them on. You are going to do only 4 things. First, you are going to teach my grandchildren to read, and that every child in the school at the age of 7 should be able to read graphic. No compromise. And do you have a copy here? My wife and I have developed a system whereby every normal child of 5 and 6 years, if you follow it, will be literate, totally literate. I don't know, my people may send a copy here for you to look at. So, that's it. Let them be literate. I've added, and I'll add it after they become. Also, the same method, you can use them in teaching their mother tongue. So that if you are from us, you don't speak English like an American child, but also can speak Twi and read it. The second is writing, learning with the motto writing. And then they must not the strict arithmetic, but numeracy, and love it. And most now with they are watching television with numbers and everything else. And then I want all of them to have a curiosity. They want to explore, learn. I say my kindergarten and the class 1. And then, of course, during their breaks, we call them breaks, drawing, Lego, building, swing, other things. I say that's all that I'm going to allow my class 1 and my kindergarten to do. And when they have that basis, all that they are requiring, they will do it half the time. And this, I want to share something with you which was not part of the brief. The reason why my wife and I have written the Papa and Nana series, which is now being patented in Ghana, but being patented internationally. So you don't need to buy Lady Bear's series. You have a proper Ghana one. When my 4 children were little, God just opened my eyes. I was a student in Sydney University. I went to a library and I saw some mathematics with dots, and almost like the Holy Spirit saying that this is the way to teach reading. Never teach a child unless you have taught them certain number of words. And apparently, in English, there are 100 keywords. And once you know 1,500 words later on, you are totally literate for the rest of your life. All my children were totally literate, and I mean literate, not by those methods we use, at the age of 6. All of them are scientists. Nobody took after me. Anyway, that's my fault. But all their life, I have never looked at any of them, their homework. They never had afternoon classes. Never. They started at Morning Star. Because of that foundation. And I'm going to give that foundation to my Romasi children. And I'm not going to wait for years to come and say that the time they should learn the foundations for life, they should be doing 14 subjects. Please, when your parents are crazy, please get them clothes to wear. Don't follow them with nakedness. And that is GES. But for you, the best thing to do is to make sure that you do all the subjects they want, but create room to do what is important. For example, my reading lesson, which my friend has just brought, requires only not more than 5 minutes a day, as low as 5 minutes. And that 5 minutes, you divide it into 5 1 minutes, because you show them 10 cards at a time. And you don't wait for them. You just pronounce this for free. You can do it on your computer, but if you want, you buy, you get wiser and I get richer. But all that you do, you take 10 cards at once, and then you just show it to the children, and you just go. Don't stop them. Finish. Adwa, go. When you finish, 1 minute, you put it aside. Do it that 5 times. Most of the children within a day know that those 10 cards. You put it aside. Then the next 10 cards. The next 10 cards. The first book is a full book, but we have written it. My wife and I have used only 23 words for the book. So when the child knows all the 23 words, you don't read the book. As soon as you give the book to the child, their eyes pop out. I can read. That's the secret. You do the same to book 2, book 3. The average child, there are 9 books. Before they reach 5, they themselves, like their mother tongue, have deciphered all the time you are wasting alphabet, vowels, diphthong. They know it themselves. And then soon they will be writing it. And that should be the foundation. The old 3 R's. Reading, writing is in my notes anyway, so you have it for free. Arithmetic, and now computer literacy. Every child loves computer, it seems. Use it. God bless you.
All right, thank you. Dr. Ego, I want to make some. All right. Thank you. Please, another round of applause for our guest speakers. Please, you may take your seats now. I'll bring this to you. Prof, I'll bring this to you. You can pass it.
The only trouble is that this set cost 500 Ghana cedis. But those who will wait for 3 months, we are doing a new version, because doing the cars separately, that is what costs it. We are going to have one which will cost less than 120, because I realize that this is for only Accra people, where always I'm thinking about Shiromwasi.
Please, a round of applause to our guest speakers. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Again, like I shared, we had this seminar not for us here at Ecobank, but for you, our cherished partners. Thank you all for staying for the full length of the seminar. And thank you very, very much to our guest speakers also for staying. We really appreciate it. At this point, I will make just one final comment, and I'll invite Abraham to give us the closing remarks. I don't want this to be one of those seminars you come, you hear, we go back and you close your books. As educators, you do same with your students and you ask them to open back their book and read and also do what they have heard. So the only charge personally I have for you is that We saw the 9 tenants, we saw the 12, and Mrs. Anon also engaged us extensively. Please, let's practice it. Let's be doers of the word, as the good book says. Thank you very much. So at this point, I'll invite Abraham to give us the closing remarks.
Thank you very much, Carl. Let's put our hands together for ourselves. I think we've done so well today. And thank you all for sitting through. We were expected to close around 12:30, but we've gone beyond the time. But we still are grateful to God for giving us the opportunity to come together once again. Like he said, this seminar was organized for us all so that we can share ideas. Beyond this place, please network, get to know each other. I know there are young ones who are looking up to the big ones. Please get in touch with them, take their numbers, talk to them. It's important. Nobody lives in a silo. We don't work in silos. We must be able to share ideas. I mean, wisdom is not in the head of only one person. So on this note, we would want to say a big thank you to all of us for coming. And there is so much that has been shared. So much. Prof has given us the slides. We have your email addresses. We'll forward them to you. So please, you can go through. We have Dr. Yeboah's own and then Mrs. Anon's own as well. We'll share them with you. Please, Ecobank wants to partner you to build lasting educational institutions. You realize that we didn't sell our products. Not that we don't have things to sell. We do, and you all know. But we just want you to know that we are there for you. And so this is the first of a series. We will come your way again, bring you back together. And please, when you come back, we will ask you questions about what you learned today and how you have put them into practice. This one is like science lab. You will do the practicals when you come back, because we want to make sure that we are all moving forward. But we want you to know that as a bank, we are there to support you. Whatever your needs are, about your collections, how to collect school fees, expansion, buses that you want to, whatever you want to do, Ecobank is here to support you. And now to our speakers, Prof, Doc, and Mr. Ano, we want to say a big thank you to you. I think, let's put our hands together for them. They have really done well, given us nuggets here and there. They've given us their story. And I believe that in 10 years' time, some of us will also be telling our story. God willing, it will be far greater. So once again, we want to say thank you on behalf of Ecobank Ghana. We want to say a big thank you for coming and for being part of this seminar. We will definitely see you again. Very soon you will hear from us. And we will send you emails as well. And please, if you have a need, contact your relationship manager. Or we are at the head office here. Please get in touch with us and we'll give you the needed support. We are going to take some photographs. You can't come without, photographs. So Carl, please, let's be on our feet. We've been sitting for too long. Let's be on our feet. And before we do the photography, I want to give the closing prayer. Shall we pray? Our Heavenly Father, we thank you once again for the gift of life. We thank you for bringing us together. We thank you for the opportunity given to us to share ideas together on how to build lasting educational institutions. Beyond this, Father, we pray for wisdom to be able to implement all the things that we've heard, learned. Grant us the grace to do that which is right, so that at the end of it all, your name will be lifted up. We give you thanks, we give you praise. In the name of Jesus have we prayed. Amen. Amen. So back to MC.
All right. So quickly, Daniel, please help. We want to bring some of these chairs in front, so we won't be sitting again. So we'll have the panel, the speakers come back, and then if we have any. Right, so our speakers, please, you can have a seat. Together with if there's anybody from the preschool, any preschool heads, Any preschool heads here? Okay. Oh, yes. Oh, please, you can have a seat. Charlotte. All preschool heads. You can just climb up, please. Feel free to climb up. Please, they can sit, it's fine. They are not that much, so you can sit.